Thursday, June 25th, 2026. Welcome to the Kechi City Council meeting. Debbie, could you call roll, please?
Here. Here.
Here. Here. This evening, I'm going to lead the invocation with a prayer for the 250th anniversary of our nation. It was written by Claire Henning from Catholic Conversations, and it's inspired by Isaiah 65, 17 to 25. If you would like to join me, please rise for the invocation followed by the pledge. God of all nations, creator of every people, we come to you with grateful hearts. We thank you for this land we call home, for its beauty and its bounty, and for its abundant resources that have shaped and sustained us. We thank you, Lord, for this nation that we love, for the ideals upon which it was founded, and for the resilience that has carried it through times of trial and testing. We began as scattered colonies, holding to a vision of freedom and justice for all. Through struggle and prosperity, we have grown into a great nation. Yet today, Lord, we stand at a crossroads. What we have become is not all that we are called to be. Teach us to remember the guiding principles that first give us life. Help us to live them faithfully in this moment before us. Teach us how to love our country as it deserves to be loved, not as better than others, but in solidarity with them, with humility, not pride, and with generosity, not comparison. You promise a new heaven and a new earth, where sorrow fades and peace endures. Let that promise take root in us today. Where there is division, help us find connection. Where there is strife, help us find common ground. Where there is fear, plant trust in our hearts. Make us a people who build with care, who work with honest hands, who honor the dignity of every life. Make us a nation that listens, that serves, that seeks the good of all. When times feel uncertain, remind us of your vision of a world restored, a people renewed, and creation at peace. Strengthen us in faith, root us in hope, and guide us in love, so that the United States of America may reflect your vision and goodness down through every generation. And my personal addition to this beautiful prayer in closing, may we, the city and people of Kechi, in agreement, desire to do the same in our community as one part of a greater whole, for his glory and purposes to be accomplished. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will move on tonight to the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda?
I have a question. So we need to change the adjournment then to a recess if we're going to have a workshop?
That is correct.
Yeah, if we decide, from what I gathered, Mr. Long said we could probably do it during the regular meeting.
I thought we said that was for the 23rd.
Oh, 23rd.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll just change that to an adjournment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other
I mean, a
question
recess for the night.
Yes.
Yeah.
is, will we be also having a special meeting or workshop for the Gov Guide? So
Yeah, we haven't set the exact date for that, so let's hold off on
So we'll just do a recess and determine that during, okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else with additions? Okay, I do have one addition. On number 10, we'll be adding B, e-bikes at Kechi Park. And we do have 2 executive sessions this evening. Okay, so everyone's aware. Other than that, I would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda, adding item 10B, e-bikes at Kechi Park, and changing 12 to recess.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Moreland, second by Councilmember Brewer. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to the approval of consent agenda. Is there any item that a councilman wants to pull from the consent agenda?
I have some discussion I would like on the May 14th minutes, so if we could move that to, I guess, new business off the consent agenda.
That's fine, to 9G. Do we need a motion to move it to there? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to communications.
Well,
Oh,
I
sorry.
move that we approve
Oh,
the
we do need-
consent agenda,
Oh,
moving May 14th minutes to 9G.
Second.
motion by Councilmember Moreland, second by Councilmember Hedstrom. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to communications. Do we have Kechi civic groups or committees here that would like to speak this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to community announcements, employee recognition.
Mayor and Council, tonight I want to recognize one of our employees who has achieved the certification as a certified municipal clerk. Chris, you want to come up? This year, Chris received her certification and credentialing as a certified municipal clerk. Tell us just a little bit about the program. It was multi-year, right?
Yeah, it took me almost 2 years.
Yeah, about 2 years. A lot of time, testing that's gone into this, and the culmination of all that hard work and effort that she put in earned her the title of a certified municipal clerk. Many cities our size do not have certified municipal clerks, so we are super excited that she has received this designation and very proud of her for all her hard work. So with that, I present her this plaque. Gotcha. No speeches.
No speech.
Come on now.
I know.
Congratulations, Chris. Great job. Thank you. Okay, community announcements this evening. On Thursdays, the place to be is at the Kechi Farmers Market from 4 to 6:30 p.m. The location is at the Kechi United Methodist Church parking lot. Come shop local, eat local, and connect with locals. The brush site is open on the second Saturday of each month. The next date is July 11th from 8 to noon. I encourage you to keep an eye on the Friends of Kechi Park Facebook page for upcoming events. To support the new Kechi Park Playground project, you can give online or at City Hall to help donate towards the cost of this community project. Plus, you can sign up to volunteer with the community build scheduled for November 10 to 15 of this year. The City of Kechi has posted the city's fireworks rules, which are in effect from June 27th through July 5th. For details, please visit the city's website or the Facebook page. And finally, the Kechi Arts Council is sponsoring an art supply and entertainment donation drive for the month of July for the Wichita Children's Home. Drop off your donation at the box in Jumpstart. And I have a list here. Their wish list includes acrylic paint and paintbrushes, canvas, crayons, markers, coloring books, sketch pads, journals, yarn. Legos and other building sets, science or other educational kits, activity passes such as bowling, skating, movies, museums, sports, events, portable radios, earbuds, noise-canceling headsets, and any other arts or entertainment supplies that you may desire to donate, and they ask that all items be new items. Council, do you have any community announcements? Okay, moving on. I don't think there's any previous public comments to address. I don't have anything. Council, do you have anything? City Administrator Gensby?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Debbie, do we have anyone signed up for public comment this evening?
Cheryl Hobson.
Cheryl, welcome. Please just state your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes.
Cheryl Hobson, 622 North Shawnee Circle. Wanted to address the Huffman Drive issue. And I mean, I get it that, you know, we want to be very friendly towards our industrial partners out there. And even on Huffman Drive, you know, our businesses. I was under the impression before the last meeting that it was going to be paid for 70-30. I don't think that's what happened. I just feel like as a citizen, if I was to have to be in that kind of situation where there would be, and I have been, a problem with my property, and the council and city administration could have taken some moves to help me and my neighbors. It came down to being 100% on me and my neighbor. So there's never been any mercy for the citizens. And I certainly hope that in the future, that if we do have community members, residents that need assistance, need help, that we look at them in the same light that we're looking at, you know, the IRBs that we give out, the Huffman Drive situation. If that's going to be the norm. I would hate to think that we are a community of only, you know, being kind to our businesses and those neighbors when our residents here also need the same, and you might be in that same predicament someday, that maybe that we give them the same support. So if 100% is what we're going to do for our business residents, then I would expect to see some 100% for our residents as well in the future. That's it. Thank you.
Council, would anyone like to respond?
I believe I know what you're referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just to kind of fill council in on what Cheryl is referring to, and I appreciate her because I had not thought of it in that light. Back in 2016, we had a major flood going through Kechi, and Cheryl and the neighbor to her west both had significant water on their property, and it was deemed that it was the floodway behind, well, several of the properties there. And when the neighborhood got together and met with, they had a neighborhood meeting and they presented information to council. Council did not respond. It was actually a response from the city administrator at the time that it was a personal property problem even though it was found that much of the silting in of the floodway and the flood reserve happened from farmland. And the response from the city was, that's fine, each one of you can take care of it on your own, but if you go together as a group, then you then have to have the city engineers involved as well as pay for everything out of pocket. So that is kind of a little bit of the
Yes.
history of what she's referring to. So that and that was a different council, different city administrator. But I think even though, and it's been 10 years ago, but there was significant work that several property owners did out of pocket to try to remedy that after that was the response from the governing body at the time.
Yes.
Any additional comment from council? Okay, thank you. Debbie, do we have anyone else? No one else? Okay. I will close public comment and we will move on to staff reports. First up, Thomas Bevan, Public Works.
We should rotate this one for the last time.
I can rotate. Hey, I can do that.
It's fine. So council, you have before you my report for the last month. Most of it's a lot of the same repetitive stuff, mowing, weeding, things of that nature. We did, however, start painting fire hydrants, starting to turn water and gas valves for yearly maintenance with that plan that we have. We've also started painting storm drains to get those up for stormwater compliance. Things of various natures. Had quite a few meetings this last month over different things. I did meet with USDI. Next council meeting looks like it's going to be a cram-packed council. We will have Tyler Enlow in here from USDI going over their findings for the future gas supply for the city of Kechi, kind of what they would recommend, some costs involved in what, the avenues that we take. So he will be in here next council meeting on July 9th, I believe is that council meeting.
It is.
So we had numerous days of unloading park equipment. For some reason, that stuff just kept coming. We kept coming. We kept coming. We had to rent a couple of skid steers because ours would not lift it. So that kind of made at least one driver unhappy. But we did get that removed. It is placed. There is a camera over there. It is active 24/7. It notifies us on my phone, on the on-call phone, if anybody is messing with that stuff. It also is to where we can voice through, voice control let people know if they're too close. But it is notifying us, so that little deal that's up there, the template that says you are being watched if you're over there. We currently don't have it in 360 mode. We just have it stationed right on the equipment, but if we need to. So we did put that up. We kind of met with the needs of the future of public works, where we're going as a city with public works in our design on buildings and things of that nature, storage. Kind of with the budget stuff and coming up with that. Met with the mayor over the 254 corridor project, overpass it, Rock Road, what that would look like, overpass it, potentially Webb in Greenwich, the funding, if it comes in 2030, if it doesn't. We always say that's a long ways down the road, but then you turn around and, I've been here 17 years now. So, seemed like yesterday. Time just keeps going, things keep happening. Me and Chris met with Johnson County, with MABCD, with other municipalities throughout the state over House Bill 2588. I was told that they were trying to pass that if they did try to pass that, the governor was going to veto it. What that is a statewide RAN licensing for contractors to where any roofer could come in and get a license from the state. The city would then get on a website that was ran by the state to figure out whether that person was licensed or not. You'd also have to get on there to figure out whether, you know, they had been disbarred or whether that license had been pulled. So there was lots of questions to go over. I think the feeling when we came out of that was that most jurisdictions would like to keep that under their own umbrella. They want to know who's coming into their cities, who's doing the work, who's doing the background checks, who's doing the background, you know, of who those people are, who they're hiring. So we'll see where that goes. You know, as we know, elections are coming up, so
Right.
We'll see what happens with that. I know we meet again next time in August. I think August 17th in Johnson County this time. So it was a pretty hot topic. Derby was not for it. MACD was not for it. Johnson County wasn't for it. KCK was not for it. So yeah, and then we'll meet in person. It was interesting to know because I didn't even know that bill was out there. But you know, things that came up in that was if you had a contractor who was in, you know, doing a roof and not doing it correctly and you made them stop, how would you know, you know, what that 30-day grace period is, or when can they come back and finish it, and did you stop them in the middle of work? You know, so somebody has their roof completely tore off, and why it's in litigation for 30 days, that homeowner basically is essentially sitting there without anything on their roof or siding on, you know, is what it could end up. So I think we came out of that with most municipalities and most jurisdictions not wanting that. There were some other thoughts on that pertaining to data centers and that such thing. I know that's a big topic right now, that if the state sent those licenses, how would local jurisdictions know what's being built in close to their vicinities? So that also came up in that discussion. It's a legitimate, you know, concern, I believe. I think we would want to know as residents of Kechi and council members of Kechi if something like that was to happen. I have been hearing a lot about that lately. Kind of went over another bill, more pertaining to zoning than it did to me, about ADUs and stuff like that and that nature. I think that one did pass. So looking into that and, you know, how we design our zoning with ADUs and what's required in our city, you know, to develop those, I'm not for or against. I don't really, that's not my deal. I just look to make sure that it's put in properly. So lots of meetings that we've had recently. Like I said, we have a lot going on. In the process of hiring 2 new employees. Hopefully they will start July 13th. Unfortunately this morning I was informed that I lost a longtime employee. Vern Tripp gave his notice. July 13th will be his last day. He's going to do what he needs, you know, that he thinks is best for him. Significant wage increase for him. I'm happy for him. Like I told him, I hold no grudges. You come here, I train you. If you leave and find something better, good for you. You know, I'll train you while you're here and give you the things that you need. And if you find something better, like I told him, if he finds out the grass ain't greener over there and he wants to come back, the door's always open. You know, he should be able to come back and, like riding a bike, pick it up pretty quick. So, just up for the rest of us to step up. I've actually reached out to Earl to see maybe if he wants to come back a third day. He didn't sound so happy about that, but we'll see. His wife might decide to send him back out. So, other than that, we've replaced quite a few signs. We've had lots of stormy weather. I've drove the dirt roads. Our dirt roads seem to be holding up quite nicely compared to some of the videos I've seen of other dirt roads. I mean, I guess you can't get to Oklahoma right now. The turnpike that shut there, you know, I-135 south. So they seem to be holding up quite nicely. We've brought a couple loads of rock out there in certain places, but other than that, I think Malachi has been doing a good job with that as he's learning that machine. So other than that, I did hear about a post, might as well say it, about flags. I was not here on that Friday. The guys got wrapped up in other things and forgot to put the flags up. That was the first thing that Vern said to me when I came in on Monday is, I'm sorry, did you see the Facebook post? And I said, no, I did not. I don't do Facebook. So if you want to reach me, there's an email to reach me. It's not Instagram. It's not Facebook. It's not Snapchat or whatever. I don't do any of that stuff. So, or come find me, knock on the door. I'll answer. Mayor reached out and kind of asked why we used to put up a lot more flags than we used to. Part of that is because we've replaced almost every electric pole downtown. So all of our old holders are gone with those poles. We currently haven't put up new holders. We're kind of waiting to see if, whether that went underground, whether we kept the poles where they were originally, because we did have that come up. They needed to be moved or whatever. The other thing to that is you cannot climb a pole with a ladder unless it is secured to that pole. That is a violation. We used to do it in the past that way. We were explaining that we were not to do that anymore. So now we either have to get a lift truck or a boom to set those up. Currently we have on order 70 flag holders to go up. Now that we know that these poles are here to stay. So we will be putting those up next week. So you'll probably see about 100 to 120 flags going back up now that the downtown area is hopefully done.
Phase 1 anyway.
And my father-in-law was gracious enough to donate a lift truck that the guys can drive up to and roll over and put those up. He's kind of patriotic himself. He makes sure that I put his flag up for sure every time. And if I don't do it, he makes sure he puts his up. But I did a final walkthrough on Turtle Creek. The asphalt and stuff on that turned out really well. The grading, they came back and did some stormwater stuff on it to get it back into compliance. Grass is growing in nicely. I've actually had the developer reach out. I looked for them to start putting foundations in soon over there. So I think they're in a pretty big hurry to get over there and start getting things in. So hopefully we'll start seeing that happening soon. Any other questions? Hopefully I got over everything. If not,
Council, do you have any questions for Thomas? I have one clarification I would like to ask you. Starting repainting the fire hydrants, where are you starting to repaint? There's been no public announcement about a change with the fire hydrants, so I'm just wondering where you're doing fire hydrants at this time.
so we've started out of town.
Okay.
Kind of doing the main fire hydrants coming in because those are usually the ones you flush first. So like towards 53rd and Rock
Okay.
on our main line. So it's kind of out there in no man's land. I like them to start on fire hydrants that people don't see. So hopefully by the time they get in town,
Great.
kind of expertise, their craft of painting. I don't think I got a bunch of guys in here that can do Rembrandts and Picassos, but maybe, they got some underlying talent that I don't know about. But that's where they're starting.
Okay.
I think they've only done 3 or 4
Okay.
because they have to wait for that initial, once they scrub it down,
Right.
that initial paint and then second paint. It takes a little while to paint a fire hydrant, regardless of what others might think.
It does.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, just the reason I asked this question, I'll just let everyone know. The Kechi Arts Council is in charge of the painting of fire hydrants, and that Arts Council made a decision to only focus on the Arts and Business District for painted fire hydrants going forward. All other fire hydrants have been turned back over to Public Works. If they determine a fire hydrant needs to be repaired, restored, they will paint it back to traditional color, just so that the public is aware. It was a great project in 2020. Nobody has the bandwidth to continue the maintenance and care of, there's 105 fire hydrants in the core of the city of Kechi. So thank you very much for that, Thomas.
Are residents still allowed to repaint their?
yeah, I have no problem. If you have one that's next to your house and you want to repaint it, and as long as you're doing the coating, I gave the, kind of the paint you should use and how you
Yes.
should do that.
Yes.
Without painting the gaskets, the bonnets and things of that nature. Try to
Yes.
stay away from the threads.
Yes.
I think I sent
We can put
a
that.
list and a YouTube video maybe.
Yeah, we can, I'll put out a notice about that specifically, because there is a very specific paint It's only available by the gallon, which is actually the recommended for fire hydrants. What got used before wasn't completely recommended for fire hydrants, longevity. So I can put that out that the change has been made and that anyone else in town that has a fire hydrant that they desire to repaint on their property, they can contact Thomas directly.
Yeah, I mean, the county fire department, off of 77th up there, who normally responds, are out of Bel Air. They know that they've been painted. They know that we had that program. They were the ones that okayed it originally
Correct.
from the National Standard Code. Just no black. Just
Can't be a dark color. It has to be bright.
Yes, it has to be
Yes.
a color that, says this fire hydrant still works.
Yes.
So,
Thank you, Thomas.
all right, thanks.
Next up is Kechi Police Department.
Mayor and Council, Police Chief is on vacation, so he's not here to give his report. His report you have in your packet there. I will comment on the cops and rodders, not cops and robbers. Little play on words there. Police Department is putting together a car show for July 25th. It has really taken off. There's a ton of interest on it, and they have received several large donations. I know I took one, or was at the front desk when one came in the other day for $300. So the community is really excited about getting something going, and the police department is spearheading it. So we're excited for it.
Thank you. Next up is Dustin, zoning, IT, stormwater, and code enforcement. Welcome, Dustin.
Thank you. All right, zoning, planning commission heard a variance in June. It passed with no issues. No cases are scheduled for July, but the planning commission should vote in July to have a public hearing to vote on amendments to the regulations. So we're gonna have a vote, and then we'll move on. IT, 3 new laptops have been delivered and set up. Those came in just this week on Tuesday. Stormwater, I've attempted twice to get water samples. I've attempted to get water samples twice this year. Up north on 69th Street, that creek hardly ever fills up. The water just soaks up all the water. There was a little bit of water on there on, I want to say Tuesday or Wednesday when I went up to check, or Monday. And hardly any water. You can't get a bucket down in there to get it. You have to go all the way down there, and it's not even flowing. You can't get water that's not flowing. If it's stagnant, you can't test it. The one down south, there's a lot of water, but it doesn't flow. I think somebody on some property to the south has a personal dam of some sort, and it just backs up and it stays right there underneath the road. Code enforcement contacted the property owner at 61st and Hillside. They cut the grass in the ditch. They did that very quickly. I was pleasantly surprised. Had a couple complaints come on that, but it got taken care of. That is all I have.
I guess I have a question on the creek not running. Is that something that we are potentially concerned about?
Not right now. The water
Because-
doesn't, it's contained, it's not overflowing or anything else. It seems to stay at the same level.
Okay, because I'm just thinking of it, like I said, and I know I've already referenced it earlier, but when the creek backed up and actually took out the culvert
Mhm.
over 61st Street, and then the damage that was caused at the other fork of it over by F&H that is still blocked off because of the damage to their parking lot because the creek goes underneath it. And I know we've had a lot of rain recently, and hopefully, I mean, that if it hasn't with that, I guess it's not an issue, but could it be a potential flooding issue if we did have a severe rain not flowing the way it's supposed to?
I would think that there's a possibility, but that's just me guessing.
Okay.
But common sense says there could be an issue. KDHE doesn't seem to be worried about it. Collection wise, that it's stagnant. They seem it's stagnant and you can't get it. I did collect water samples on 61st by F&H last year. That was a mistake because the E. coli that showed up in it, I think we were all dead at that point. But,
I guess, like I said, I'm looking at it more from the
the
potential
flooding.
drainage
Yes.
issue. Not,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want the E. coli. I'm really not a fan of that.
I'm not,
But, is there something that we need to do to be proactive so that if in case we do have one of those, I know that we had 2 500-year floods within 2 weeks of each other. And
it's,
what would be the potential harm that would be caused to our Kechi residents? And I know that it's been many years ago when something like this happened in Wichita, and Wichita was found liable for the flooding to the properties. So I just want to think proactively if some, and it might be that it's not dammed up, but you said those words.
I did.
And
I did.
so, is there something we need to do to look into that if that is going to affect properties in our area?
It is something that I can definitely keep an eye on.
Thomas would like to give his input.
I can speak to that.
Thank
I was
you.
here in 16, so
Yes, you were.
when that culvert got opened up and that street washed out, they actually put in 3 and expanded that culvert through there. So it was the actual culvert that was backing up right there that caused that to erode out and us potentially having to put those concrete culverts in there. The original one was 2 6-foot culverts. Now you have 3 10-foot. So it opened that up significantly through there. When I did the stormwater for the city, Sir Brandon Cantrell did bring up the fact that those had been dammed off and wanted to know when. When we went back and looked at data and GIS, those have been dammed up since the 60s and 70s. So they weren't too much of a concern then, so I wouldn't say that they're much of a concern now. But like I said, with those 3 10-foot cold concrete culverts, we shouldn't experience that again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Council, does anyone else have anything for Dustin? Okay, thanks, Dustin. Moving on to city administration, City Administrator Jinsky.
Mayor and Council, you have my report in front of you there. In the essence of time, I'll just kind of hit a couple highlights of it. Of course, under administration and staffing, our city treasurer, deputy city clerk Krista got her certification. Super proud of her for that. The Public Works Department is currently looking to fill 2 positions that they have open. He's been diligently working on that. I think, Thomas, you made a couple offers, and they're in the pre-employment phase of that. We had our workshop tonight under technology and communications. Our sound system is up and running here. The problem that we had with it was they have a default setting on it. So when we turned the system off, it went into default mode and there was no sound. So they got that fixed and everything's up and running now.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So is that the same sound system?
That would be for the streaming? Okay, because I had a report earlier today that they still cannot hear on
Oh, no.
the Facebook streaming.
On the Facebook stream, I was told by somebody earlier tonight as well that it's the podium mic that they can't hear,
Okay.
but everybody else they can.
Okay, so,
And as I was up there, I just found that the batteries were dead in the mic.
okay, because I know
Technology.
the last meeting that I didn't attend, I tried to listen to online and could not hear a thing. So, thank you.
The under development and infrastructure Turtle Creek project is complete. We went through the punch list on that. There were just a few minor things that they're fixing as far as some grading, stormwater things, and some curbs, but for all intents and purposes, that project is done. And I will answer any questions that you might have.
Council, do you have any questions? I have just a couple. I didn't look. We came in through the back. Is the city sign up now?
It wasn't yesterday.
Yeah, it's not installed. It should be installed by next Tuesday. They got out here and it needed additional power. So there's an electrician coming out. We have to get an electrician. He's coming out. He's going to run some additional wire out there. And they said it should be completed by Tuesday of next week, weather permitting.
And then the other question I had is you had mentioned, I believe it was last meeting, that the audit, no, maybe it was this 2 meetings ago, The audit report was expected to be completed by now.
Yeah, our auditor's still working on it.
Okay.
There were a few things we changed in it. Well, not changed, or doing a little differently. So Matt Lawn and the auditor were working those out.
Okay.
But it's back in the auditor's hands and he should have it to us shortly.
Great, thank you for that update. Okay, Chris or Debbie, would you guys like to share?
That's going to.
Okay.
I guess I'm going to. I don't even know what your report says. So, you had requested a quick update
Yes.
from their conference.
Thank you for doing this.
That they attended in Reno a month or so ago, and some of the highlights were it provided them with a global perspective. They say it was increasingly exciting to connect and interact with people from different countries, realizing that international communities struggle with the exact same thing that we do. Smarter minute taking, they were introduced to AI-driven transcription software. We too have been looking at that. It's kind of the thing of the future. As you know, we've talked about this before, taking minutes, not just here at the meetings, but it takes a copious amount of time behind the scenes to do. It is a very labor-intensive process. And as our city grows, as our meetings start to get longer, as the amount of information that's presented continues to come in, it just increases the time that we have to spend on those minutes. So new technology is always good to look at. Tight security and compliance, they took classes on how to safely use AI without risking public data privacy. It's interesting because we had our bond rating call this week, and that is one of the questions that they asked during their bond rating call is the city using AI for any type of financial duties or anything like that? So AI is the way to the future, but like with anything, I think it needs to be used judiciously and very well thought out as to what it's being used for. Workplace wellness, they attended sessions focused on stress management, burnout prevention, and maintaining mental clarity. Learning these self-care strategies ensures that our staff stays healthy, resilient, and fully energized to serve our community. And earning certifications, the hours from these workshops count directly towards professional clerk certification, bringing the best industry standards back to our small city. Let me see here. Instead of trying to reinvent the wheel on our own, we were able to learn directly from cities worldwide already using these tools and wellness strategies successfully. And they're excited to bring everything that they've learned back to the city.
Thank you so much
Those
for putting this
conferences,
report together.
Those conferences, I know sometimes people look at them and they're like, my goodness, we spent how much on sending employees to conferences or training, but they are just absolutely invaluable. So many times we get stuck in any industry, not just here in any industry. We get stuck in our own little world and we forget what's going on outside of us or around us, and being engaged in that and seeing other perspectives and new technology is just so valuable to bring back to the city. So.
I do have a question on that because I'm guessing you guys still do the IIMC training with Wichita State University and you go in November and then in April for that?
November's her clerk school. I haven't been going to that one. But yeah, she does that
And
one.
then the one in Manhattan? Isn't that where
Yes,
the
that's the
spring one
finance
is?
one. Mhm.
Well, no, not the finance one. The IIMC does the spring
Oh, the
conference.
spring? We do that.
So do
this
we-
year. We did do that this year. Because this one
Okay.
was with IIMC.
Well, is it, those are affiliated with IIMC through through WSU.
Yeah, this one was too. I mean,
So-
it was all the same,
so it-
same people.
Okay, so it was the same ones doing it, but just in Reno.
And with different,
It was an international, not a
Yeah.
regional conference.
Well, that's what IIMC is.
but our
So,
local ones
okay.
here,
But the
we
local
don't
ones
have,
are
we
not
only have
international.
Kansas.
Okay, so they offer different offerings that the ones in Kansas don't offer.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council comment, questions? Okay. We will move on to unfinished business. Playground project update, City Administrator Jensby.
Mayor and Council, I don't have anything new to update you on the playground right now. We're still trying to figure out the part of what we're gonna do at the playground. We met with PDC today. They're going to take some core samples around there to see what's going on with the dirt. See if we can put it back on that location if we need to move it a little bit or move it to a different part of the park. So as soon as I get that, we'll bring more back to you. We're still raising in the fundraising phase for that. We received a very large donation, about $30,000 from an organization for our park. So we hope those continue to come in. So we're very excited about that. That's all I have to update on the park.
Okay, we're going to be moving on to K254 update. I'm going to do a presentation for everyone. I think it's really important that the governing body understands what's happening with K254. Thank you very much. Hopefully it will. Oh, that will let me
Just
advance it? Okay. Do we happen to have a laser light thing?
We just have that.
Okay. I'll try to make this work. Okay. Do I just click it on the that part or the that part? Which part do I click?
Just
Wherever?
turn the mouse around.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the little rollerball faces forward. Click
Thank
on
you.
the left side of it.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so this is the K254 Rock Web Greenwich Interchange Study and Proposal. KDOT's focus is that safety is their number one priority. And as I had shared before with the first two mayor letter that was approved by council to send to KDOT, Mayor Jim Benaj of Bel Air and myself added an additional request to the project. Would they consider urbanization for future growth and development of our cities? And KDOT told both of us at the open house recently on June 4th that they have never received a two-mayor, two-city letter before, and to have two mayors from two cities come together and that we have agreed upon what we would like to see happen to the corridor. KDOT is giving high priority and a heavy weight to the two-mayor letter. And so I'm going to share with you where we're at, what's been proposed, and we'll seek the approval of the next two-mayor letter to go forward. Okay, see if I can do this right. Oh, great. Okay. Because this project does have a significant impact on unincorporated Sedgwick County, so there's actually three players in this. It's Sedgwick County, Bel Air, and Kechi. I really, really want everyone to understand what is being proposed by KDOT. As I said, the main focus is safety, and we were told from the beginning that they would only choose one road for a highway overpass interchange, and other decisions would have to be made about the other two roads involved in this corridor. There is a high level of significant car accidents and injuries and some fatalities that have occurred on this stretch of the highway. Jump down, the last meeting was the 4th of June at Northeast Magnet High School. Again, that we were told that the two mayors were given high priority because no one's done this. Okay, so at the June 4th meeting, unfortunately, I'm not really sure exactly what happened, but I ended up being the only Kechi city representative at that meeting. There was a stakeholder meeting prior to the public open house. I did learn that Thomas did not get information about the stakeholder meeting, which I have now corrected that with K254 corridor so that he will know when stakeholder meetings are occurring in the future. I spent the full 3.5 hours because I really needed to understand what was happening and the impacts of the decisions that were being made. So I spent time talking with Sedgwick County Public Works Director and County Engineer Lynn Packer to hear the Sedgwick County perspective. I talked with KDOT engineers and JP Wilson and Company engineering representatives, other elected officials that were at the meeting, local business owners who have a lot to say, and members of the public, including Kechi residents who live on both sides of the highway and will be impacted by the decision made at Rock Road. Plus, I asked countless questions. until I finally understood the full scope of the project and the impact that these decisions are going to have on the three entities involved. And the knowledge that after final approval of this fall of the proposed concept that will go forward, the project goes directly into design. That's already funded, and their hope is to have project approval funding, and construction is targeted to begin fiscal year 2030. Because City Administrator Gensby was out of town following this open house, I contacted Thomas and Chris were willing to meet with me on June 9th so we could discuss the project at length and I could get their perspective from the city side on decisions that were being made. I really appreciate all of the input that they gave me as well. So I'm going to give you the overview and then we're going to look at the pictures of what this looks like. Now, what you're going to see is only what has been decided. There was more options available, but I'm going to describe what we chose and why we've chosen it. So I learned from Lynn Packer that Greenwich Road is a designated north-south rural road and it's paved over multiple counties. I don't know how many people knew that. I didn't know that. Sedgwick County does not desire the north-south traffic flow to be interrupted. However, Webb is only a 1 mile detour access to reconnect with Greenwich north-southbound, which is acceptable to KDOT. They have a 1 mile rule and I'll talk more about that. Also, a request is being made to KDOT to please acquire the right-of-way at Greenwich now, because that's not what we chose for the overpass, for a future overpass interchange. And that was suggested to us to make that request. Conceptual design takes into consideration enough offset to the east on Greenwich for a future overpass to occur there because Webb and Greenwich are 1 mile apart, and that's not acceptable to KDOT for two overpasses to be that close together. Webb Road is designated an urban north-south road by KDOT, south of K254, obviously not north, it's a gravel road north once you cross over. And it is therefore the focus of urbanization for the corridor. Additionally, Webb is utilized for Bel Air students who attend Circle School District. There's a lot of traffic daily at Webb and 254. Backage roads need to be established for Webb overpass interchange. 53rd is already identified, most likely for Bel Air, and it is undetermined at this time where Kechi's backage road would be between Rock and Webb. Tigua is identified as a frontage road between Rock and Woodlawn overpass interchange, with realignment proposed for Tigua, and we'll look at that. All roadway improvements will be paid for through KDOT. If there are any backage roads or frontage roads that KDOT puts in that do not currently exist, they will pay to put them in, and then that governing entity will then take over the road after construction is completed and be responsible for the care and maintenance of the road going forward. Okay. So if you're not familiar with the diverging diamond interchange, we all know what a conventional diamond interchange is. That's what we deal with now. KDOT has now identified that diverging diamond interchange is their preference for safety because there are only 14 conflict points instead of 26 for a traditional diamond interchange. Just keep that in mind because we're going to see what it looks like at Webb, and it's a lot. Okay. So these were the two options that we had at Rock Road. Alternative one was an overpass. There is no access to K254 with the Rock overpass. As you can see, Tigua is being realigned, and KDOT would be responsible for realigning all that, taking care of the right-of-way acquiring. What this does, if you're on Tigua, you can know where it is because at Rock Road, as you drive down by the Kansas Highway Patrol, you can see where the road was originally finished. But the section between Rock and the Kansas Highway Patrol doesn't look like the rest of the road. So they would be widening it and realigning it to match Tigua, and that would become a designated frontage road between Rock and Woodlawn. Alternative number two was a right in, right out only. That meant you could turn right if you were heading south on Rock onto 254, or you could turn right to go east on 254 if you're coming north on Rock Road. K254 would be closed north-south, and that would mean if alternative 2 was chosen, all traffic from Rock Road in all the neighborhoods that are built like Rock Point and then Canoes Addition, all of that would have to be put onto Woodlawn because there would be no access to the highway at that point. So we have chosen the overpass as our recommendation. Okay, here is what the DDI at Webb Road would look like. If you'll look, it is offset from where Webb Road currently is. They did this for 2 reasons. The first is if you look closely at this picture, there are houses north of K254. There's all acreage properties right there. They would have taken out every house to put in the DDI at Webb Road if it aligned with Webb Road. So number 1, they tried to save all the houses. But number 2, putting Webb slightly to the west, they're working on making the distance between Webb Road and Greenwich more than a mile so that a future interchange overpass can be considered for Greenwich. I hope I said that right. Webb to Greenwich, yes. So it's very significant. There's a lot of right-of-way that would happen here, but this is the proposal, and obviously Webb would get paved a bit north, and there's actually significant frontage roads that get added in for those property owners to still access their properties. Okay, so this is a restricted crossing U-turn, which is being proposed for Greenwich. This is just a way that traffic could make a U-turn to go back the other direction. So I did not care to leave the R-cut in. There's some other parts with Greenwich, but Bel Air wanted it left in, and I said I didn't have a problem leaving it in, and KDOT could make the decision they wanted to make. It's just an interesting way to turn around on the highway. Okay, so this is just to show you really quickly from what's being presented. Alternative A for the DDI at Webb Road is a $42 million project, and there's almost 50 acres of right-of-way that would have to be purchased by KDOT for how it has been presented. And then for Rock Road, the overpass is a $7 million project with the need to acquire 2.33 acres. And the improvements at Greenwich are Alternative A, which is an eastern arc cut with offset right turn lanes and right in, right out with acceleration lanes, a $4 million project. And there's 1.3 acres involved there. But this is where our request is for additional right-of-way to be purchased during this project for a future interchange overpass at Greenwich. So I wanted to show you the map of the whole thing, and I can't point everything out to you. So 53rd is the Backage Road, which is where Amazon and Wichita's Edge Sports Complex, that's 53rd. That's the current designated Backage Road for Bel Air. It may change, it may not, probably not. And then we could potentially have 69th as a Backage Road. That is, except for along Canoes, most of that is in Sedgwick County. They are considering another Backage Road halfway up in that acreage area because KDOT, they require that they have a frontage or backage road when they do a major interchange project like this. So I just kind of wanted you to see the whole thing. So here is the proposal. Everything that's blue, is paid for by KDOT in the project. It shows the overpass at Rock. It shows the realignment of Tigua, and it shows, it's a better picture showing all the right-of-way space as well as the DDI at Webb. So this is actually what Greenwich would look like. There is the ability for a eastbound traffic to make a safe left-hand turn north on Greenwich, or a westbound vehicle to make a safe left-hand turn south to Greenwich. Where it's got the little grid in it, that would be the closure of the north-south crossing of Greenwich. And the R-cut is off to the right of where a truck could do a right-hand turn to get on, but they want to head westbound, they could go up and do the R-cut to turn around and go the other direction. So these are the three that we're proposing. So here it is. I had to piece two of their pictures together to give you the idea of what it would look like. They actually had it on paper this way at the open house. But this shows what the three crossings would look like. If this is what the final proposal is that goes through, is what is supported by hopefully both cities. Bel Air has approved the letter to go forward. And it was our best, we felt like it was the best option, especially having an overpass for rock, because otherwise Kechi would actually be cut off if we didn't have that overpass, and we would overload Woodlawn to try to handle all that traffic. This enables the traffic to continue moving north and south on rock and gives people another way to get south. One of the other things that we have asked for is that walking and bike paths are included in these overpasses, indicating too that students would be able to walk to Northeast Magnet if that's their high school, and they would have a safe way to get across the highway. Okay, any questions? Any input? Have you had a chance to read the letter?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, any questions? Go ahead.
I appreciate all the information, being able to see what is being proposed. I do agree that having traffic cut off at Rock Road would be very, very frustrating for our Rock Point, as well as the Canoes addition, that increased traffic, knowing that 69th Street is a dirt road and more people are going to avoid a dirt road in favor of paved roads. I'm one of them. So I do see where that would be very useful. I like the idea of the walking and biking paths because, like I said, with Northeast Magnet being right there, I would see that could be very beneficial because I know that's where most of those residents are going to go to school.
We also did indicate in the letter that, it could also end up being a safe path to Isley. Bel Air has been working on some additional sidewalks and such on their side, and so there is the potential in the future that it could also become a safe route, even because Isley has been changed to a K-8 as of this year. So there are some older students there. So.
I was just saying on the Greenwich Road improvements, I know we don't tend to see those type of turn lanes here locally. However, I know that going to my daughter's house in Missouri, we see them quite frequently. Mm-hmm. And they do allow for, like I said, still having access to both directions, north, south, east, or west, or directions, with, like I said, the less chance for oncoming traffic, confusion, because I don't know how many people still don't understand how stop signs work, but yeah. So,
and one other thing with the Greenwich choice, there is industrial business landowners that aren't pleased that Greenwich isn't the likely proposed interchange overpass at this time. One of the things with KDOT is that it's not developed yet. It's still mostly all just raw land. So KDOT's usually not going to pick undeveloped land to put the major overpass interchange in at this time. And so that's why we tried to pick the best possible option. And the reason I picked this one too is because this is the easiest one for an expansion into an interchange overpass. And because there's no development to the east of it either, there is a possibility that part of the right-of-way purchase could be towards the east, so that could also be an offset interchange overpass, which would give the over a mile to meet KDOT's criteria of being able to have 2 interchange overpasses. If this all goes through with the urbanization, and safety is number one still for everything, but with the addition of the urbanization request, if this all goes through, this will open up the corridor for development and future growth for both cities. Any questions? Okay. Is everybody comfortable with the letter?
I'm fine with the letter, and they asked, what's the difference between the first letter and the second letter?
So this is actually giving our choices and why we.
So like a follow-up.
Yes. So the first one was the request to consider urbanization. So this request is actually letting them know as 2 cities, we are agreeing on these choices for these roads for this project, and this is what we would like to see presented in the fall with the final presentation. If everyone's good with the letter, I just need a motion to approve it to be signed and sent.
Make a motion to approve the letter to be signed and be sent.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Hedstrom. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you everyone for that. Really appreciate it. Okay, moving on to new business. Note sale resolution, Huffman Drive and Kechi Road widening. City Administrator Jensby.
Mayor and Council, the item before you is the resolution that authorizes the sale of temporary funding for the Huffman Drive and 61st Street project. With this resolution, a competitive public sale will be held on Thursday, July 9th, sometime in the afternoon, and then those bids will be presented to council that evening at the city council meeting.
Any questions, council?
So this is combining, so at the last meeting, there was the Huffman Road project for $800,000, and the 61st Street project was $350,000. So why is it only $980,000?
Because those authorizing ordinances generally, how can I put it? Those are like not to exceed numbers. So this has been, now that we have the actual costs of these projects, and our financial advisor, Piper Sandler, has looked at all those and put in the cost of issuance and those sorts of things for these temp notes. They've sized it to this size. The issue, of course, you run into is if you cut too far back on those authorizing ordinances and then it turns out that you're over, you got to do them all over again. So that's why. And the only other thing I want to point out, I don't go, please ask your questions, is after we submitted this resolution to the city for the packets, Piper Sandler requested that we move the time of the bids from 10 a.m. to 9 a.m. So the resolution I brought with me, which I don't have a copy of, the only change would be to move that reference from 10 a.m. to 9 a.m. because they want a little bit more time to get documents ready for your meeting that night. But otherwise, everything else is the same. It'll happen on the 9th.
I just, and so the 980,000 is the max not to exceed on both projects put together. Even though
Correct.
those amounts were different than what we saw.
That is correct.
And do we have a breakdown on where those changes were, or?
We do have the estimated numbers from Piper Sandler, and I'm sure Matt has them too. We're more than happy to send those to you if you'd like.
So I guess my question more is, did the project costs change from what was presented at the last council meeting?
The project costs
we don't necessarily know what the all-inclusive cost is until we have like Piper run all those numbers. So when we do an authorizing ordinance, it's always got some additional amount in it to be sure that we don't run into a not to exceed problem.
Okay, I guess I'm not asking my question the right way. So the Huffman Drive project, we said that project would be $800,000 based on the bid from Andale Concrete.
Mhm.
And then the projected cost on the 61st Street project for the road widening was $350,000. So were those the cost of construction and engineering and inspection?
It was 600 and something else.
So the Huffman bid was $600 and something thousand.
Yeah.
The actual bid that we had. Right. And then we got a bid, I think we had originally estimated on 61st Street, 350, but I think we got a bill for under 300.
We did, yeah.
Right.
Okay, I just, in the minutes and in the last meeting's packet, the Huffman Road was reported at $800,000.
And
That's why I was asking.
And that's the not to exceed estimate that we put in the ordinance, because we don't necessarily know at that time what exactly the cost will be. It's turned out to be less than we had
okay.
before. Yes.
That's where I was
Yes.
not sure where the difference was coming from. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, council? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve resolution 26-800 with the change to 9 a.m. on July 9th for the meeting and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Hedstrom, second by Councilmember Baldridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to PEC Huffman Drive contract. City Administrator Jensen.
Mayor and Council, the item before you is for Huffman Drive. It is for materials testing and inspection for that project. Because of the nature of the roller compacted concrete, which is the system that they are using to reconstruct that road, there is not a need like there would be with a traditional project to have engineering costs. The reason for that is because Andale Construction is the only construction company in this region who does roller compacted concrete. Therefore, they have all the standards for it. So PEC said, it really doesn't make sense for us to charge you for engineering when they hold all the engineering standards. So what they recommended, so we receive a good finished product, is inspection while they are constructing the road and testing of the materials as they are putting them down to make sure they're within spec. So that is what this agreement attached to this agenda item is for tonight, is for the inspection and materials testing for that project. These costs for this service were figured into the amounts that were provided for the projects originally.
Council, any questions?
So Andale creates their own specifications and PEC just says that they are meeting their own specifications. It's not any.
Yeah, they do not build the road to engineered specs because
they create the specs that they are building it to.
Right. So part of this process, I mean, in very layman terms, they come in and they grind up the road in place. They put the material back down. They inject a concrete slurry into it, and then they form the road with roller compacted concrete right back over where that road was. So the roadway itself is not changing trajectory or slope or anything like that. It's going back on the exact same existing place that the current roadway is.
And what is the projected lifespan of this road?
Same as concrete, 40 to 50 years.
Okay.
Is there a warranty from the company for this?
2 year.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion then.
Make a motion to approve PEC agreement for Huffman Drive as presented and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Baldridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to CU-2026-01, Kimberly Reader, request for accessory dwelling. Dustin. Oh, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Planning Commission heard the case on May 12th, 2026. CU 2026-01, Kimberly Rader, conditional use to allow an accessory dwelling for property zoned as an R1 single-family residential district. It is located approximately 893 feet north of Kechi Road on the east side of Sioux Street, or 256 North Sioux Street. The proposed use is a single-family residential with accessory dwelling. Planning Commission approved with additional conditions. They voted 7-0 on the case. Background, the applicant is requesting a conditional use to have an accessory dwelling. The property is generally located north of Kechi Road. The applicant currently has a bi-level house, and due to illness, the applicant requires a more level house for ease of mobility and does not want to give up her home as a result. The applicant is planning on using a destination trailer and having it placed in her backyard. The applicant wants something movable rather than built. I'll give some more information on that below. Section 1037 of the Kechi zoning regulations state accessory dwellings shall be limited to one structure per lot and allowed only in conjunction with a detached single-family residential primary structures. Shall be compatible with the immediate neighborhood and constructed with the same or equal siding exterior materials as the principal structure. Shall be limited to a size of 50% of the principal structure's gross floor area. Shall be subject to applicable lot coverage, setback, and off-street parking requirements. Accessory apartments or dwellings may be served by an independent utility connection subject to the applicable City of Kechi building codes. The red here is one of the conditions that the Planning Commission made. It may not be rented as an independent residential unit. 2, shall be maintained under the same ownership as the principal structure and shall not be subdivided as an individual lot or condominium unit. Deed restriction stating such shall be filed with the Register of Deeds. Accessory dwelling is defined.
Can I stop you there, please? Are we not following the procedural outline?
I don't usually read the procedural outline.
No, don't we usually follow the procedural outline? Where the, I know.
It's the staff report.
I understand that. But, and I'm just, because in the past, we usually called the agenda item, established quorum, protest petitions, ex parte communications, and then did the zoning administrator's report as part of number 5. And so that's where I was just confused as to whether, because this was in our agenda packet, do we not start with that?
Am I out of order? It could be. This is my first time doing this one.
Usually start at the top of the packet, or of that procedural outline, go down.
Do you want me to go ahead and do all that
Okay.
before, and then you can start again?
No, I'll let you go ahead and start. I just,
Okay. My apologies.
No, that's fine. I know that this is your first time through these. I've done a few of them
Yes.
in my,
Thank you.
so normally we start because, and I know we have a quorum, but if a quorum wasn't present, we wouldn't even.
I mean, if you want him to pause, I can just go through these.
Well, I
and
just-
pick back up again. We'll just do that. I'm sorry. Time out. My apologies, everyone. First time.
So,
Okay, I call agenda item 9C, a consideration of case number CU-2026-01, a request to allow an accessory dwelling on the property in the R1 Single Family Residential District, zoning district. Before we proceed, would any member of the City Council wish to abstain from voting on this agenda item due to conflict of interest, bias, or any other reason?
no.
Okay. Let the record show that there are no abstentions and that a quorum of 4 council members is present. As a reminder, a valid protest accounts for petitions from the owners of 20% or more of the property being rezoned, or 20% or more of the property within the official notification area. Has the city clerk determined a valid protest for this case?
No.
Council members should report the general nature of any verbal or written ex parte communication received prior to this meeting. However, it is not necessary to disclose the name of the party. Does any member of the council wish to report ex parte communication?
Yes,
Yes, I do. We all received an email.
and I have had comments from one resident.
I received an email only.
Okay. So it's known that everyone received an email and one had communication from someone in the community. The Planning Commission held the public hearing for this case on 5/12/2026. Has the council received a summary of the public hearing found in an unapproved meeting minutes?
No. I have not received minutes of that meeting unapproved.
Report planning commission? That's planning commission.
I don't have any minutes.
Dustin, can you get those? Minutes from the planning commission. While he's looking that up, on the last section about ex parte communications, you don't need to reveal who it was that you spoke with, but we should get a summary of the nature of those communications.
I think we all received the same.
We all received the same email.
It was, somebody bothered by how this was proceeding and was not in favor.
Okay, thank you.
No questions.
Including a picture.
Okay.
Yes. And the person that I spoke to just had questions.
Okay,
Was not in favor or against, just questions.
thank you.
I've got the minutes pulled up here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm ready to scroll if you are. Do we have any-
I am too, I just don't want to make somebody sick.
Yeah, we're good, I think.
Okay, good.
So it's, okay, so it says 6-0 in the minutes, and in our, it says 7-0. Was there somebody absent? Or? No, so if you go back to where you were just a minute ago, oh, I'm sorry.
I believe the 6-0 is a typo.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I was like, no, it's right here. Okay, thank you.
Is everyone good with the unapproved minutes?
Yes.
Okay, now we can move on. I apologize, Justin. Zoning Administrator's Report. I'm calling on Zoning Administrator Dustin Belton to present the case report, background information, and the Planning Commission's recommendation. Please continue to proceed, Dustin.
Fair enough. All right, accessory dwelling is defined in the Kechi zoning regulations as a residential unit that is accessory to a single-family residential primary use on the same lot. An accessory dwelling exists independently and is detached from all other structures. Residential design manufactured home is defined in the Kechi zoning regulations as manufactured homes defined by Kansas statute with a minimum of 22 body feet in width, placed on permanent foundation, and have a pitched roof, siding, and roofing materials that are customarily used on site-built homes, and that comply with the architectural and aesthetic standards of this code. The property is zoned as R1 single-family residential district, developed and used as a single-family residential. Approval of this request would allow the applicant to have an accessory dwelling that is suitable for her while keeping her home. The property was developed in 1988. It is not platted, and there have been no other zoning actions on this property. Adjacent zoning and land use to the north, south, east, and west is zoned as R1 and used as single family. Public services, Sioux Street is a paved local collector road with curbs. Public services are available and provided to the property. Conformance to plans and policies. Section 5.7.E.1 of the Kechi zoning regulations state recreational vehicle utility trailer parking and storage, temporary parking and permanent or semi-permanent storage of recreational vehicles or utility trailers shall be allowed for single-family residential primary uses as follows. 1. Such vehicles shall not be used as permanent living quarters. Temporary lodging shall be allowed for periods up to 15 consecutive days, not to exceed a total of 30 days per calendar year. Federal guidelines and laws require the city to make reasonable accommodations for zoning and code compliance when a resident has a disability. Planning Commission and City Council must determine the accommodations are reasonable while still maintaining legitimate zoning and safety requirements. Public input and neighborhood character are not to be considered. Planning Commission and City Council can still consider code compliance, safety, and other zoning issues. Planning Commission and Council are not required to approve the exact request if another option is reasonable under the circumstances. For example, if a permanent code compliant structure is preferable to a temporary structure. Recommendation: based on the information available prior to the public hearings, planning staff recommends that the request be approved subject to the following conditions. The accessory dwelling must comply with the specific use standards of 1037. Development and maintenance of the site shall be in conformance with the approved site plan. If the zoning administrator finds that there is a violation of any of the conditions of the conditional use, the zoning administrator, in addition to enforcing the other remedies set forth in the zoning regulations, may declare that the conditional use is null and void. The ones in red were added by Planning Commission. Trailer shall be dropped on a hard paved surface. 5 shall be hooked to public utilities as deemed by city guidelines. 6 must have hitch removed, skirting, and insulation in place on the trailer. 7 accessory dwelling shall not be rented. 8 trailer shall be removed from the property should the owner no longer need the accessory dwelling. 9 tie downs shall be installed. This recommendation is based on the following findings. Zoning uses, character of the neighborhood are not applicable. Consistency with comprehensive plan. The request for a conditional use is in conformance with Kechi's 2040 comprehensive plan as discussed in the staff report. 3, Sioux Street is a paved collector road with curbs. Public utilities are served to the property and surrounding properties. Staff do not anticipate an increase in public utilities or services due to the accessory dwelling. 4, The subject site is currently zoned as R1, single family, which permits an accessory dwelling by conditional use approval. The property is approximately 10,527 square feet and has a maximum lot coverage of 35%. The primary residence and proposed accessory dwelling will have an approximate combined lot coverage of approximately 25%. The property is not vacant and was developed with a single-family residence in 1988. 6, staff does not see an issue with the R1 single-family residential district developed and used for single-family with an accessory dwelling being adjacent to other R1 single-family residential districts. 7, staff does not anticipate that approval of the request will have significant negative impacts on the surrounding properties. Approval of this application is not anticipated to have significant detrimental impacts to the public health, safety, or welfare. Denial of this application could represent a loss in the use and enjoyment of the applicant's property. 9 is not applicable. Here we have aerial maps, zoning. Here's the property. Zoning showing the tan color of R1, all adjacent and surrounding the current property. Future development plan map showing the area as good for housing. Accessory dwelling. This is the picture of what was sent to me of what the trailer is going to look like. A layout view of the inside of the trailer. Site photos. We have north of the subject property, subject property facing east, south of the subject property, and west of the subject property. Update as of 6/24/26, a trailer has been placed on the property in the backyard without approval. It appears to be larger than indicated at the beginning. As you can see, this one here has 2 windows in the front, which is much larger than the one that has 1 window in the front. Close-up picture showing the propane tanks here in the front. Showing the back of the trailer a little bit. And that is the end of the report.
Does council have any questions for the zoning administrator?
I have just a zoning question. Like where you read up here where it says our current zoning, when it says that temporary lodging is only allowed for 15 days or a total of 30 days in a calendar year, is that just anywhere on someone's property?
That's in a trailer.
Oh, just in the trailer.
Just in the trailer.
Okay.
Let's say you have family that comes in and they're driving a mobile home or whatever. They can park it in front of your street for up to 15 days.
Okay.
Or
Then we can
if you're having work done on your kitchen, and I will say that we personally have taken advantage of that when we had to have family in town. What is the size of the current shed that was there and the size of the the trailer?
I have yet to get a site plan for the applicant, so I don't know.
Okay, okay. Well, I just know, and the reason I'm asking is because I know that there's also requirements for how much, maximum,
Lot coverage?
it's not maximum lot coverage, maximum size of accessory buildings.
50% of the primary residence.
No, because in my neighborhood, it's 720 square feet. If I have anything, I can't put up anything on my property over 720 square feet without a conditional use.
Okay.
Storage building.
Storage buildings only, not exempt, okay.
The ADUs and stuff is the maximum lot coverage.
Okay, thank you. So I withdraw my question.
Council, do you have any other questions for zoning administrator?
We don't at this time, but I probably will.
I think we'll have some significant discussion after the applicants shares. Okay, that's what we'll plan to do. Thank you, Dustin. We may call you back up later.
Absolutely.
Here on this one, Dustin. if you don't mind. And then the one that you're showing at my house, I'm Kim. I'm the person, and I thank you guys for giving me the time to come on here and speak with you. Like we said, we didn't really have any issues before. Having lived with MS is really hard for me to get around and do what I need to do. This trailer right here was brought so you guys can see it. And it's also still on this track. It hasn't been dropped yet. It's also going up here. It's at an angle in my house. So it looks larger than it is. So against that. So it's no bigger different than a long fifth wheel or Class A motorhome, which people have on their property all the time. The issue is not having it stored on your property, because other people here have their Class A motorhomes stored on their property. The issue is whether or not I can live in one. So that was never the issue. Can I store it there? No. It's no bigger than any other Class A. But can I live in it? So with this one, it was brought here so I can get an idea of what it's going to be like, and there's going to be a concrete set off to the side so that I can get it where it needs to go. It was just dropped here. Again, you're looking at all of this, and if you look up as well, whoever took the picture, maybe that's, I'm not sure. If you look.
You want to go down?
No. Go back to the other side. Get right there. See where the blocks are? And the cement, like the. If you look at this, right here, these are where the stabilizers are. This stabilizer is extended all the way down. And stabilizer comes a long way down because it's on a decline. This is the upside of it, and then it goes down the bottom side of it. So, again, I thank you guys for letting me talk about it, but it's no different than the Class A. And I'm going to do everything they tell me to do. Put on the cement pad. I'm going to drop the trailer from off the skirt itself. And if you look, the propane tanks is part of the hitch. It will come off. Because I have to be tied to public utilities, so I won't. Anybody have any questions for me?
Council, do you have any questions for the applicant? I actually have some questions. What is the plan for hooking to utilities, sewer, water, and electricity?
When I was here last time, the city, pardon me, I get excited, I just slur, I'm not drunk. The city.
The planning commission?
The planning commission.
Yes.
They said I need to call Secretary County to talk about sewer.
You'd have to talk to the city of Kechi.
What's the say in the minutes? I think in the minutes it tell me to contact city.
You'd have to contact the city of Kechi. You're inside the city.
Well, they were part of it, so I can work with them. And Dustin said they would be, basically, you just need the money for me to be able to hook into these things.
So what is your actual plan for hooking into utilities? What are you planning to do with sewer? What are you planning to do with water? And what are you planning to do for electricity?
Electricity, I have an electrician that's gonna put a pole, which is what we said.
Okay.
I can't tap into my home.
Okay.
And with water, I can tap into the home, use my own services.
Okay.
And when it comes to the sewer itself, it's self-contained, so the sewer, it has a container where it can be taken out and discarded. Then also have companies that can come and pump it out as well. I think you were here for the meeting. And so if I need to get with the city of Kechi for a sewage, I can do that as well.
Is that even possible?
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, I have a little bit of concern with that when it comes to public safety.
And what, right? I mean, the sewage, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, making sure that, yeah, I'm not sure how that can be connected to the sewer directly.
which is why they suggested that I make a call to Sedgwick County. If you look at the minutes, I don't have the minutes on me. They brought it up. They said you would have to give it to Sedgwick County, so you can't just dispose it anywhere. So I contacted Sedgwick County, and they said, no, well, he called Dustin, I think, didn't he?
Who?
I think he called one of you guys. Well, Sedgwick County, that was Sedgwick County, and said, hey, do I need to put a new sewer, a smaller sewer, or how do I get this working? This book, get rid of this. He said, well, it has to go to the city of PJ. Because from our last meeting here, from my understanding, they brought up the fact that I had to get with the county to deal with this.
I remember ABCD did call, but they said that the person who called was asking for a lagoon or a septic tank on the property. And the size of the lot does not require a septic tank.
So they
It's hooked to sewer.
Yeah.
They had to be hooked to sewer. So apologies for any misunderstanding, because
Yeah.
on the note that from what we had before, that's what they brought up.
That would be entirely decided by the city of Kechi.
Okay.
Okay. I have a question. So with an ADA and your limited mobility issues, in an RV, it's usually 1 to 2 steps up. So what are you planning to do for entrance and exit?
Those steps fold in, so when it comes off of the actual axles, whatever the thing is that's sitting on, I won't need to step anymore. It'll be on the ground, level with the concrete. This the picture where you see the steps, but they fold in, so I don't need them underneath. But then again, let's be honest. I'm not here because I'm not saying I can't never walk up steps. I'm saying that I have to go up or down steps, 7 up, 7 down each time. So these 3 steps on this thing is a much safer option for me than what I'm living with right now. And if I'm in there and everything's on the main level, from my washer, dryer, bedroom, you name it, kitchen, I think we're good.
So does this trailer meet ADA
It does.
compliance?
It does.
So are we required to have ADA certification for the trailer legally?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, that's what they come.
Mayor, could I ask a question just
Sure.
on the city's behalf? So
Yes,
you had said that that Westar is gonna drop a pole in your backyard,
No, not Westar. From what the last meeting.
or Evergy, I mean, I'm sorry, I still
No.
call them
So I was told prior to, I've been dealing with this in February. There's so many different things that come up, and I'm trying to keep on track with this stuff. It's not as simple as you think. Yeah, I meet with you, you go to the went in 3 different publications. I had to do one group with you guys, with Dustin. It adds up pretty quickly. So basically, from what I was told, I could hire my own electrician as long as it met to code, and he would have to approve it for them to put a pole for me to be able to,
Sub-panel?
yes.
yes.
Okay, my question was my clarification was, is there gonna be separate electric service? Because if there's separate electric service, there has to be an address assigned to that location, which would create dual
No.
addresses at that
Right.
location.
You're not
No,
getting
it's
another
gonna
meter,
tap off
you're getting
the
the
meter.
sub-panel.
Correct.
It's a service, okay.
It's gonna tap off.
That's for
Correct.
clarification.
So it's just gonna run from the house?
Yes.
To a thing? Okay.
We had a seal in the rain, so where's that is not where it's gonna be. Having it stored for a minute till I can get the concrete, that's fine, but I mean, I've been doing this for months, and I've fallen so many times, and I'm just,
Does anyone have any additional questions for the applicant?
And what were the other options you looked at? Because I know people have done garage remodels that would fit a lot better than this.
I've looked at that. One of the things, the reason, you mean from the front of my house? So the reason why we chose not to do that is because it had to be closed off, and that would then also affect neighborhood as far as the aesthetics of it all. So when we look for it, right, because I'm not gonna,
Well, I know that there's options to leave garage doors on so it still appears to be a garage, with it being blocked off from the inside so that it is not usable.
I still need.
I mean, the trash removed.
I need a kitchen, I need a bathroom, walk-in shower.
Yeah, I'm just gonna share, because I'm curious about other reasonable accommodations that could be made. So my mother lives with us. My mother lived with us in the state that we moved from, and we did a complete garage conversion for her apartment in our former house. We chose to leave the garage door, so we didn't change the look of the neighborhood, but there's many people that take the garage door out and create a new wall, door, window. It's just part of a house that you can, and it's actually very easy conversion to do that. Even at your house, you could easily convert the garage and put in a bathroom, put in what you need. So I guess I'm a little bit confused why, versus having a trailer. Because in the future, if your family decided they wanted to convert it back, it's not a difficult conversion to go back to a garage. It really isn't. So I guess I'm confused a little bit as to why this is the only solution, and this is a trailer actually does not align with our regulations in having a trailer, and why there wasn't potential consideration to do a garage remodel, which makes a lot of sense to me. And the second thing is, or even putting an addition on the back of the house, that could have been done as well.
We spoke about all those things. It came down to cost and the fact that when it's time to move, it will still be my home. If I don't get a chance to, if something happens and I can't live on my own anymore, it gets to be moved and my family gets to keep the house. Everything is just done because it only matters for me. Nobody else in my home is dealing with any type of ADA issue. So this, and I came up with several different options. They talked about doing a tiny house, but it's going to cost a lot more. We talked about additions. We're going to cost a lot more and take a lot longer. How many times do I got to fall down my freaking steps before?
I understand the challenges.
You just can't.
Did you price out a garage conversion for doing what you needed?
No, I priced out that because I needed something to be done right away.
Okay. I don't think the timeline for a garage conversion would be long. I mean, it's not a long process to be able to, get the permits and to get work done.
It may not be a long process, and I understand where you're coming from. But when you speak about changing things or doing things that you need you to do for your mother, I don't know if you had time for that, but
We made temporary accommodations for my mom when we moved here, when we did the apartment in our house here. So.
However, because I happen to live in the city of Kechi, which I bought this house
30
years ago, long before any of you guys. So right now I'm dealing with a medical challenge. Now Kechi gets to determine whether or not I can be in a safe place for me because it doesn't match what you guys think. I mean, and we have other, like I said, we have other Class A's, we have other things available. I'm only asking to be able to stay in this one until I can do something different. They talked about it being 5 years, 10 years, whatever. I mean, I'm glad you were able to do that for your mother. But I don't really think that anyone here should be able to tell me how to safely accommodate my illness and the money I should be able to spend for this and how it's done. My second set of parents are carnival owners. They travel around the world. So you'd be surprised at how inexpensive and how this was for them to help me get to. And it's right away. It can go with me. I don't have to pack up. If something happens and I have to go, my family can remove it off the property. We're not talking about something where I got bells and whistles. I'm talking about where I'm just playing with you guys. I'm trying to get to a healthy place right now. And I just don't really feel like it should come down to people saying you should spend your money this way or that way. I need some options, and this is the fastest, quickest, safest option for me right now. Now, already it's gonna cost me $3,000 to get the utility pole. It's gonna cost me $6,000 to get the pad for this. which it was not a part of the thing to begin with, because after we met the second time, they said, these are what we require. So the cost is kept going up and up and up and up. And this was pretty much already secured because that was the option.
We have to look at all the zoning regulations as well and to offer what is a reasonable accommodation for the request. That's what we're talking about.
So the reasonable accommodation has to come down to, can we remodel the garage? Because that's not how 88 would say that. 88 says I have to have some place I can go and I can be safe and I can do what I need to do. It doesn't say it has to be a garage. It doesn't say it has to be any of the little things. And I don't think Kechi should be able to tell me to remodel my garage to get approval. Is all I'm saying.
I just think that what we're trying to say is that we do have zoning regulations and we have to apply them fairly and equally. And I know that when we start to consider not just your situation, but what happens when other people start to say, hey, you know what, I want to live in my RV on my property. I want somebody to have an RV as an accessory dwelling unit.
So because no one thought of it before I needed it?
No, it's been in our regulations.
It's already in our regulations.
No, what I'm saying is because nobody thought to say, can I live in my RV too? Until I needed it for accommodation.
So, no, it's in our zoning regulations that people are allowed to stay in an RV, but there's limits on that. And there's also just, for manufactured housing, and I can think of the property just here to the,
They did say that.
that we had manufactured housing can be allowed with specific conditions. So had you wanted to put a manufactured home, if it met those conditions, yes, we can do that, but we have to look at what are the zoning regulations and can we enforce them consistently and equally.
So is the zoning regulation more about the aesthetics of it?
No.
Because zoning wise, the zoning commission already, zoning, whatever they were.
And
And they're an advisory board that makes a recommendation to the governing body, and the governing body makes decisions for the city.
So, and I will say that I have a significant concern with the sewer because I don't believe that these are necessarily designed to hook to city sewer. I don't know.
They
that
just take the hose. Correct, they hate to say that, but the correct, proper.
Yes, there is, but when you say, having a truck come and clean it out, to me, that is not an acceptable solution when I consider the process of that.
But it also comes out to where it can be dumped itself as well.
Well, it still has to go somewhere.
Yeah, which can be like, I was a trucker for years. We should be down here at the truck station. You'd be down there at the next RV station. You can move this stuff anywhere.
Okay, let me ask you a clarification on question on that. You just said it could be moved to be dumped. But what my understanding is according to the conditions that the planning commission put on there, it has to be permanently tied down in its location. So you said you were taking it off the trailer.
No, there's a clear bio container which comes off the trailer.
Oh, you're just taking the container. Thank you for clarification. That's why I asked. We also have ADU zoning regulations that are defined by the city of Kechi. So as an accessory dwelling unit, we have it defined what an ADU can be. So we have regulation about trailers in the city. We also have regulation about ADUs. So right now, this is in conflict with each of those regulations.
What's the biggest conflict?
Well, an ADU has specific size, how it has to be built, and it has to match your house, and it's hooked up to all your utilities. The trailer is a trailer still, and it doesn't meet our regulations of you can only live in it for 15 days. And that has to be moved.
Which is what we discussed with the planning committee. But if it's gonna be, if you demand that I put it on permanent cement or pad or something, then I'm doing what they asked me to do to have the approval. They have no problem with it. Dustin didn't have a problem with it. So I guess they have a problem with it because they saw this one. It's coming down. It's not as big as, it's not even as big as I can keep going. This seems like there's a more right decision, because this is just, I need somewhere safe to be. So essentially what you're saying is, either take your time and build something that aligns with this. And in the meanwhile, you've already been doing this since February, keep waiting, keep working, keep figuring out ways to get up and down your steps without hurting yourself. Well, I guess I have a service dog, I guess you can drag me up the steps. Find out ways to do that, because as of right now, it doesn't deal with, the ADA aspect of it doesn't really deal with the help with the zoning part of it. I'm doing everything that what I need to be done, so I don't have to wait any longer. I just want to be done with all of this.
We're trying to
It's
talk
short of just
through
selling the
this.
house. I just want to be done with all this. And this is the quickest way, safest way, and the best way for me to get what I'm looking for me to get safe in my own, on our own property.
I hear what you're saying. There's also other reasonable accommodations that could be made. Your garage is like, there's zero entry. It's the same level as your driveway.
So basically what you're saying is can't do the garage or nothing?
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that we can give reasonable accommodations of other options that would fit within our zoning regulations.
So, and where does that start? Reasonable accommodations. Do you guys just make a suggestion to me and I pick A, B, or C? I mean.
Well, the council will make it, after they deliberate, they will make a decision.
Whether or not I have to do it a certain way or?
Well, we make a decision on whether we are going to, approve this request or deny this request. That's what we have to do.
Any other questions?
And
No, I just want to reiterate that it's not that we're not empathetic to your
Right.
situation.
Thank you,
It's
Matt.
that we have to be consistent with the ordinances that we have in place, and our job is to make sure that we're consistent with that. So it's not a lack of caring or empathy, it's we have to follow the ordinances that we have in place.
Is there ever a situation where there's always a first time, or there's a reason to change something, there's a reason to alter something, there's a reason to do it a little bit differently? Does it always have to be the same way it's always been done? Can you consider that sometimes things need to be changed?
But I think that's one of the things the mayor has been suggesting is, a permanent structure of some type that could be considered, whether it's additions to the house, a remodel of the garage, or something like that that would fit our ordinances.
Correct.
But again, I just reiterating, it's not that we're not empathetic to your personal physical situation. It's we have to be consistent with the ordinances that we have.
And like I told them before, the zoning committee, and you were here as well, is that you have to have something. The market has to be to sustain what you do. If I put a big old mother-in-law's quarter in the back and look at all the houses that are on the block right now that have been on the market, sometimes they'll sell. You have to be able to be mindful of the fact that you want to be able to resell the property without having some additional issues as far as I would have got it, but it's a little bit more than your neighbors because you have this in the backyard. A little bit more than this because you have that. They don't have any comps to go on. So you have to consider all those things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I mean, I just want to be able to pull it in, and when I'm gone, take it with me. I wasn't planning on spending as much money on a cement slab, but apparently I need one. Wasn't planning on spending as much money on electricity, but apparently I need to do that. And this would still get me out. I'm not even standing there. It was brought here for people to see, which may have been my downfall. But that was the main reason why I showed them the picture, I showed them everything else. And I don't come to these city meetings very often. I don't. And the reason why is, over the years when dealing with this city, it comes down to the faces that are up there. Some people are okay with certain things. Some people are okay with changing different things. I've seen city ordinances change in this place over the 31 years I've lived here, more than you would ever know. So I didn't think it was going to be a huge deal for me to say, listen, I need to do something different. I want to live in this city. I want to stay in this city, a city we're all so proud of. I don't want to go anywhere else. My family doesn't want to go anywhere else. But I may have to make some different choices because I can't live there anymore. How hard is that? I can't live there. I need a kitchen. I need one in the bathroom. I need a kitchen. My kitchen is upstairs. My laundry's downstairs. So I need everything on one main level. And sort of, why would I buy a trailer and put it on? The property can't sustain that type of expense. If it comes down, we have to sell it within the next few years because now I need the money to live in a nursing home. I don't know. I have to consider those things. You can't just say, Kim, do this, do that, extend it out, extend. It should still be able to be a positive scenario for the long run as well. But if we don't, it should be not affect the property value. It shouldn't affect the need to change or sell it. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, just listen.
Council, do you have any additional questions for the applicant? Do you have any additional questions for Dustin?
I still question, and I don't know if this is more Dustin or Thomas, the sewer ability, because from what I understand with our regulations, it has to connect to city sewer.
That is correct.
Okay.
With the way it's written, it should be, fastened and secured to city services. Just like it should be fastened and secured to the water.
Right.
I mentioned that it shouldn't, they should run a garden hose out to it to provide her with water.
Okay.
It should be a underground water line that either runs out of the house or another connection that services that specific unit. I mean, if it was an ADU, you would do it that way. If it was an ADU, you would tie the PVC, sewer straight to the PVC of the home, and you would just have 2 units on one. The same would go for gas. You'd have to have a separate. Electric, I don't know. ADUs, I know that, if something was to happen to her back there, and she had an emergency situation, if they didn't know it was back there, the police were going to respond to the home and not to the ADU unit.
Everyone.
So, there is building code things that come into play, not just zoning, unfortunately. But the ultimate decision is up to you guys. The rules, are put there by you guys, not me. I'm just here to obey those rules. I'm under your guys' guidance. So
The additional expense that it takes for me to be able to live in something like that should tell you just how much easier it would be for someone like me to be able to, if I can't ultimately sell, I don't want to have to start all over. Just take it with me. It'll be right on the property state. I'm about to be 60 years old. I don't have another 30 years to live make you tired. I just don't. I'm just trying to find a resolution for right now.
I appreciate everything that you've shared with us. Thank you for doing so. Okay, we will move on. So Andrew, because there's no public input, how do I?
Yeah, this is a little bit of an interesting scenario. So the state law required the planning commission to have a public hearing. And so the planning commission had a public hearing. But since we have this federal housing act overlay over this case as to the reasonable accommodation question, one of the guidance from the federal sources is that you should consider the ordinary zoning considerations that you do, the golden factors that we normally walk through. A couple of things that you should not consider, which you ordinarily would be the nature of the public input and the nature of the neighborhood. And so I think in that case, we should probably skip over the final public input on this case, since it's not even required by state law at the council level, but this time only.
Okay, yes. I just wanted you to clarify for everyone. Thank you. So we'll move on to city council deliberations. Assuming all necessary information has been received, council has 3 options. Adopt the planning commission's recommendation of approval. Override the planning commission's recommendation of approval with a 2/3 majority vote, of governing body membership, which is 4 votes. Return the case to the Planning Commission for further consideration, along with a statement reporting the basis of our failure to approve or deny. And there was no valid protest. Does the council have any further questions or discussion on?
I do, and this goes more with procedure. Is this the point that we should actually go through those facts and findings and see if we agree with them in one to one? Okay.
Yeah, and I know the council's had a history of walking through all those and saying they agree or disagree, which is fine at a minimum. I mean, really what we're just trying to get at is have some discussion about the case to make sure it doesn't just go straight to decision. So I'm going to let you, discuss as you see fit, using those as your guidelines.
My greatest concern is unanswered questions regarding utilities, specifically sewer. I'm sorry?
I'm agreeing, yes. And I think, like I said, there's, with all due respect on what you have been through and what you were trying to accomplish, I do think there would have been other reasonable accommodations that would have fit within the zoning regulations and still accomplished the same goal.
I agree.
So we did it with the bathroom, in the garage. You said you had a bathroom to garage? Or
You can build a whole apartment inside.
So where would the sewer go then?
You hook right into the house's sewer. You would just connect right in.
So why can't this one?
Because it's a separate building.
It's not designed as a house is designed. It's a trailer.
Yeah. And quite honestly, had you done the garage conversion, you never would have had to step foot in this room to talk to us about it. You could have just gone and done it.
You'd be done already.
You would still have had to come into and file building plans and get the permits.
Right.
But that would have not involved us because that's just a remodel of your home, not an addition to the property. And I also do feel like there is some detrimental effects to nearby properties. And I also feel like it also sets a precedence that we have to consider whether we want to set that precedence for using.
I agree.
We don't allow mobile homes. And so to say we don't allow mobile homes, and I do know we have denied people those, and they went and did the manufactured homes that fit the roof structure, put down the footings, the concrete footings. I know we've had people do that. So to say is that something we want to do? And if we want to change our regulations to allow that, then we change our regulations first.
Mm-hmm. And I do think number 4, the suitability of the subject property for the uses to which has been restricted. It states that R1 single family residential district permits an accessory dwelling by conditional use approval. So it is an option to have an accessory dwelling unit which meets our city code that could be built on the property.
For Andrew. So Andrew, having spoken to the ADA lawyer, what would you say based on ADA regulations would be different for greater regulations here?
Well, so I think what they're saying is for ADA purposes, for purposes of determining a reasonable accommodation, what they're saying is that there is a permissible structure that can be built under the city's zoning regulations that would meet the same purposes. A residential design manufactured home, I think is the term that's under there, or some other kind of permanent structure that meets the zoning regulations for matching the house and being hooked up to utilities and that kind of thing. And that would serve the same accommodation as this trailer, which generally does not fit under the regulations.
That was brought up because the ADA lawyer suggested something that was easy to move in and out, that was mobile, which wouldn't affect different things. So according to them, it can't, according to them, if it's something that's accommodatable, based on my particular needs and based on having everything met as far as zoning is concerned, it's not citywide zoning, but with everything else, the water, the sewer, the things like that, am I missing something? I'm told one thing on this side, and then the city says this on this side. I'm told the law is over here, but the city, not the law, but the ADA, and I'm use terms like that. So what am I missing?
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the ADA advice that you got was. I mean, we're gonna look here to the zoning piece.
So I had a question for you, because I read through the ADA stuff. It came to me also after the fact, and I had questions because of building code, International Residential Code on building homes and how it projected for ADU units and needing, emergency response for firefighting services and the reasonable accommodation. And I was told, well, it doesn't really matter. And I'm like, well, it does matter, because let's say she wanted to build a wheelchair ramp or an extra drive in a setback or whatever, we would have to allow that. That would be reasonable accommodation.
Right.
Yes.
And so that's where I went with it. And I was told, maybe you're wrong. And I was like, I don't think so. That, if she wanted to remodel her garage, we couldn't tell her no. If she wanted to be added on and maybe it got too close to a utility easement or a setback, that we would have to allow that based on reasonable accommodation.
Correct.
And so that's where my mind went when we were looking at building codes and setting, setbacks and utilities, because I deal with both, and how it would fit, and then lot sizes, and and I started looking at other states and Johnson County and their ADUs and how they have their stuff written. And so this is kind of new for me too. So
Me as well, because the one thing was that it's a bi-level, which means if I added on to it, I would still have to go up a set of steps up and down to get this bi-level. So we went through all of that. Like, it's not for all this yet. I got a pretty one, take that. Hold on.
Council, is there any additional discussion, deliberations? Do we want to begin talking about one of the options to choose?
Well, I'm just gonna speak up because I don't think we hit on the utility issue. There's just so many things around this that, it's gonna be my recommendation that, to deny the planning commission's recommendation. So does that need to be stated?
Would you bring it forward in a motion? The motion's there.
Yeah. Okay, so I make a motion to deny case CU-2026-01 per the planning commission's recommendation. And
Overriding.
Overriding.
Or override, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I didn't know if I had all the
Mm-hmm.
language right.
Yep.
Then do I need to state anything else?
Do we need to say anything else?
If you have a rationale as to why you made that motion.
Yeah, I think the rationale is our discussion, but I don't know if you need that in minutes.
That's
As far as utilities, my reason for denying would be my concern regarding utilities and compatibility with the existing home.
For a second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Brewer And a second by Councilmember Moreland. All in favor?
Aye.
The denial passes 4-0. Okay, moving on to item D, bid approval, streets 2026 maintenance.
Mayor and Council, this agenda item covers street maintenance. It's part of our street maintenance plan. It actually really wraps up our street maintenance plan over the last few years of roads that needed to be brought up to standard. It was built into the 2026 budget. It has came in a little higher than anticipated because of oil prices. Those additional costs of about $56,000 can be covered with fund balance. We do have those in reserves, so we're not concerned about that. Thomas put this out for bid for repairs for mill and overlay to Matson, Baird, and Sunnydale Court. Originally, Anderson Street was included in this. Thomas inspected it, and he said it has not deteriorated like he had anticipated, and it is in good condition. So it has been removed from this. But as I said, this will complete our major repairs to bring all of our streets up to standards. We will now move into a maintenance phase after this, so we don't have any other major reconstructions or mills and overlays that we need to do to any existing roadways. So what you have before you are the three bids that were received. Pearson was the lowest bid. Thomas is comfortable with Pearson. We have done plenty of work with them over the years. They provide us with a good product, communicate well, and we have no issues with them.
Council, any questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the low bid from Pearson Construction in the amount not to exceed $205,060.50 and authorize the city administrator to sign.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hedstrom, second by Councilmember Baldridge. All in favor? Motion passes 4-0.
Before we leave that, Thomas, what's the next step for making sure, I mean, we had a pretty massive effort recovering all these roads the last 10, 15 years.
So I didn't want to cut Matt off. We do have one substantial road out there still to look at, which is Woodlawn. I know there's kind of up in the air on that to do a mill and overlay or whatever we're going to do with that and paint and stripe. But that one was a significant amount that we currently didn't have. So there is some time on that one to save up those funds. So that is the one outstanding street still left. I know there was
I'm thinking a little more longer term, 5 to 10 years from now. What's going to be our plan to keep this all from loading up again?
And I'm sorry, I was talking to Dustin there, so I missed the first part of that question. What was your question?
Just what our plan is to keep this massive effort from happening again.
Oh, absolutely. And Thomas and I
5 years from now, what's our mill?
Yeah, Thomas and I have talked about it. Currently, they're working on a current street maintenance plan.
Okay.
So we will have that and we can present that to council. It's going to be a plan that shows what streets are going to be maintained what year, kind of what condition they're in. They go by that phaser rating. And Thomas, what is the minimum phaser rating we have now on all of them?
So with the mill and overlay, the phaser rating, so basically 10 is a brand new street. Mill and overlay usually gets you up to an 8 or a 9, which is almost brand new, which for that means 20 to 30 years before you have to see something like that again. Vern did finish the study. So what we will plan on doing is when we got the study in 2014, is start to go through and mask and do the crack sealing on those roads. And start working from there on out and just washing the roads over the next 10 to 15 years and hopefully set aside those funds for bigger projects, new roads and infrastructure that may need to come in, bond payments that we may need to pay for in the future. And hopefully, as we see wear and tear, as long as we can get those cracks filled, get out there and seal them like we need to each year. We were a little lackadaisical on that. When we were down to 3 guys. So hopefully that becomes more of a routine each year that, okay, 2014's roads are now in 27, 2015 roads are now in 28, and we just maintain those and stay on top of them. Is that going to guarantee that some of them don't, become, pothole-ish or alligator faster than others? No, I can't tell. It's just going to be based on how the vehicles come. But that's where we put now is I believe that every road except for Woodlawn obviously is at a 8 or a 9. I know a lot of people see the discoloration, but part of that is coming in and putting a sealer on those too. So it's either a mastic, a sealer, something of that nature. Because we're also looking at maybe doing City Hall now too. So, and just, rejuvenating their existing asphalt.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So, and I think it's good to understand and maybe point out again that, yes, we have spent significant money getting our streets up to where they need to be. And that was because of deferred maintenance.
Yes.
Streets are one of your most critical and largest pieces of infrastructure. And moving into this maintenance phase is going to save us a lot of money going forward.
That's the whole basis of my question is to
Yes.
keep us from getting in that situation again.
Yes. So we provide that needed maintenance to the roads to keep them from deteriorating, making sure those cracks are sealed so water isn't seeping down and deteriorating in the base and ruining the base where you need a total rebuild or partial rebuild on those roads. So that's the phase we're moving into. We're not going to have to spend these big bucks again, and those roads will continue to serve us for many, many years.
Yeah, so Northwoods, Zunia, Snowbird, Rejuvenators, kind of keep the rest of them from cracking down and breaking more as that oil breaks down, is what we're looking at. I would say that for budget purposes, we're probably looking at 40,000-50,000 a year to seal those instead of 250,000, 300,000 to completely reconstruct 3 or 4 roads. And depending how many roads we get each year is how long, that $40,000 or $50,000 lasts and how far it gets us, depending on cracks and things of that nature. So.
Bless you. Moving on to 9E, SB 418 update. City Manager Jennings.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I'm going to let Andrew take this. We can both
I'll
chime
start.
in if we need to.
I'll start. So at the end of the last legislative session in late April, the legislature passed SB 418, which there's been a lot of discussion about going around in cities. You've probably heard about. And so at the request of the mayor, appropriately timed, I want to give you kind of an overview of the main requirements of SB 418. There's some other things, obviously, that they throw into these bills. But in my view, it really has 2 major components to an interest to the city. This is zoning related. The first is it creates this concept of something called by right housing in the zoning regulations. So it says if a developer comes to the city and requests to create a single family development, which that's important, we'll talk about that later, single family development, and they make an application and that application for that single family development complies with all zoning regulations on their face, complies with all platting and subdivision regulations on their face. Now, we'll talk about platting again in a second. Has all the appropriate utility work done or dealt with as we normally do with petitions or however that might work. Then the city is obligated to approve that application at an administrative level, meaning Dustin, within 30 days, or within 60 days if it requires replatting, or 90 days if it requires replatting and has 40 or more homes in it. It is intended to try to streamline approval of single-family developments. The important thing about that is it does not take away the ability of the city to regulate the zoning issues, the platting issues, the utility issues, and those things that go along with it. And if you look at the city zoning regulations as they stand today, if someone were to come and ask to build a single family development as it stands, and all that stuff was taken care of, they didn't have to ask for a conditional use or a variance, they didn't have to plat, or platting would be simple. They had all the utility stuff taken care of. There really wouldn't be a position under the zoning regulations to come in front of the planning commission or the council anyway. So from a practical perspective, that component of this, I don't know will have a huge impact on the city and its processes. That being said, because the way that the statute is written doesn't quite exactly match, we don't have like this process that it calls out for. As a matter of fact, the first time I was reading through the statute, as I'm looking at it for lots of our city clients, I'm like, what is this application? There's no application for this, and there's not one under the zoning regulations. So we are recommending that cities go through the process of putting in a by right housing application process that goes through this, that matches that statutory rubric, just to be sure, even though I think you could comply with it with our current processes, just to make sure that it's in there and everybody knows. If you happen to have this application that magically meets all these requirements, that you can go through that process and meet the state law on that. Stop there for a second for any questions that anybody might have.
Yeah.
So was the objective to speed up the process?
The objective is to speed it, and we're talking about a second component, which actually I'm sure will create a lot more discussion. But the objective to this is to speed up the process, also eliminate discretionary determinations by planning commissions and city councils on these developments that otherwise would meet zoning regulations. So when I said in Kechi, it's this kind of thing that really met this definition probably wouldn't show up in front of you anyway. There are cities in Kansas that say, well, you have to come in front of us anyway, and we're gonna, we have to approve it kind of no matter what. And then they say, well, you have to have a 3-car garage, and you have to have certain colors or whatever it might be. That's not something really that you have ever done. That's not something a lot of cities around here have done. But this is intended to eliminate that as well. So in your mind, what you should think about is for by right housing, it's got to meet the objective requirements of our zoning regulations as they stand. And if it does, it'll get approved. It won't come in front of you for basically the kind of hearing that you just went through.
That said, they have redefined what single family means.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and I'm going to move on to that in a second. I just wanted to try to, which we can totally move into.
Yes.
So the bigger component of that, in my view, is they have defined what single family housing means.
Mm-hmm.
What they have said is single family housing means not only traditional single family houses, but also duplexes and townhomes. And so not only does this by right housing application apply if the development includes single family or duplexes or townhomes up to 12 units. It's also said that notwithstanding your zoning regulations, within any zoning classification that permits any kind of residential use whatsoever, that single family housing, duplexes, townhomes, and ADUs actually must be permitted as permitted uses. They can't be subject to conditional uses, special uses, or discretionary determinations. And so if you think about what does that mean extension wise, so that means all of your residential zoning classifications would have to permit those by right. Now, your objective requirements still have to be met. It's got to match the building materials of the house for an ADU, for example. If it's got to have, certain square footage and the setbacks and all that, those objective requirements you're still permitted to have. But to put it in front and it is designed to try to eliminate the ability of a planning commission or a council to say, we don't like these here. We don't like these here. We want only single family houses, not duplexes or townhomes. and that kind of thing. Again, still have to make sure your utilities are available, are paid for, still have to make sure your subdivision is done properly, and all of those things. But it does, in that case, our zoning regulations do have, as does everybody's across the state at this point, does have conditional uses that apply to several of those uses in various areas. And so there does need to be a thorough review of the regs to go through and make that compliant with what the state law now says. Go ahead. I thought you had a question.
When you're done.
The other thing to be careful about is it is any zoning classification that permits residential. So your arts and business district, for example, is mixed use. That all of a sudden allows those uses.
Right.
If you have you have a commercial zone, this is one of the tricky ones. If you have a commercial zone that says it's commercial only, but permits residential, just as a whole classification, permits residential by conditional use, you can still say that because you're saying residential as a whole is subject to conditional use. But then as soon as you were to grant a conditional use on that property for that zone, if someone came in and said, I want to build a house on this, and so I need a conditional use to put it on this commercial property, if you were to grant that conditional use, now all of those uses are also permitted. They could put a duplex on it or townhomes instead. So things to be careful about as we go through this. Some of the cities that really have run out ahead of this, the one that's in the news is Goddard. What they are doing in response is creating long lists of objective regulations for those types of uses that have long been disfavored. And so they've got requirements that are, they haven't passed them yet. They've been in the news. The Wisconsin Builders Association, I know, was at one of their meetings a couple of weeks ago, giving a presentation about it. But they put some owners regulations on there that are all objective, or intended to be objective, in order to regulate those a lot more than they used to, because they can no longer discretionarily regulate those. So again, I'll stop there for questions or discussion.
Okay, I have a few questions.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've been digging into this for a bit now. So the possibility that if you have an HOA, this may not apply to a residential neighborhood that is under an HOA.
Good question.
Because that's Northwood, so it's not fully developed
Good
out
question.
yet.
This only applies to the zoning regulations of the city.
Correct.
If the HOA has private covenants on the property that say you cannot build a duplex, then they can't build a duplex.
Correct.
We can't tell them they can't build a duplex. If they come in and ask us to zone it for that, or ask the application, we'll have to grant the application. But the owners association and the neighbors may have a lawsuit against them.
Correct.
They can go get a court order to stop it. Those are two separate things entirely, yes.
Yes. So with the accessory dwelling unit, I just want everybody to understand that means any property that is residentially zoned or in C1, because we allow homes, anyone can now put an ADU if they have a single family home. Now, not Northwoods, because that's an HOA, so it would be whether their HOA allowed it or not. But all other properties zoned residential in the city of Kechi could add an ADU if they so desire once this law goes into effect.
If they otherwise meet
The setbacks
zoning
and the
regulations,
zoning
all the
regulations,
stuff.
which are pretty simple.
Correct. If it's,
Yeah, so I do have just a question. So say Snowbird Lane, I think it's zoned R2, if I can remember it. It was never developed back in the cul-de-sac there. So that means the owner of that property could come in and put in a by right application, and he could put townhomes on there, or he could put duplexes on there. because this law would impact that because it's already residentially zoned and ready to go. And so he could make that decision.
Right, as long as that didn't require a change to the zoning for whatever reason, if it complied with zoning, complied with the subdivision platting, and the utilities were there and dealt with, then that is true.
Yeah. So I only have one more question. So I do know that there is something in there about changing the zoning on a property. Say it's ag and they want to change it to residential. I'm not quite sure exactly how that impacts, because there is something about it's how it's zoned currently. So a question I have is if somebody, like say Cano's Edition, that was agriculture, it was annexed in, requested a change to R2 and end up in R1, but can someone buy land and change the zoning regulation and then apply for by right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, they have to come to the council to change
The zoning.
Zoning,
Yes.
but yes. Now, forgive me, I'll have to look it up. I think, isn't there residential permitted in ag within the?
Yes.
I just don't, I didn't know if that was actually, that's one of the questions I have on this bill, which is now going to be law, is ag included in that?
If it permits a residential use, it's included.
Okay.
So, for example, if you had, I'm going to make this up, if you had an R4 that only permitted apartment complexes, now you'd have to let somebody build a single family
Absolutely.
home or a duplex or a townhome or an ADU.
So when you say the objectives, so for instance, the lot size in an R1 zoning is different than an R1A and R2 type thing. So we could still enforce the lot sizes and the setbacks that are required there.
Absolutely.
Which would then, like I said, as far as like a townhome goes, you can't put a 12 unit townhome on a single family lot.
Yeah, yes.
So
if you're exactly right. I mean, if you have lot size requirements, if you have coverage requirements, setback requirements, those can all still be enforced, even if in that particular circumstance that means that lot wouldn't have enough room for one of these uses, as long as it's objective.
Is there any portion of this that home rule applies?
It is uniformly applicable.
There's a preemption. It's a preemption.
Well, I just wanted to ask.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. We all immediately asked it as soon as it was asked.
One of the discussions that's come amongst cities is that this would have been okay legislation if it was for first-class cities only, but this applies to cities of every size across the entire state of Kansas.
Okay. And really, the only thing we could have done to protect ourselves from some of this was to get ahead of it and change our zoning regulations first. Is that?
Well, I mean, you can still change your zoning regulations now. I mean, we can, create all kinds, just like Goddard is attempting to do. We can go through and create.
I don't think you have. My understanding was it had to be done before July 1st.
Oh goodness, no! We can change our zoning regulations anytime we want.
So we.
No.
Okay,
that's not my understanding.
That was.
It's not my understanding at all that we could change things so that we were protecting ourselves. It had to be done before the law went into
There was
effect.
something I had read that made me think about that I interpreted it that way as well. So that's why I wanted to ask. So we can still protect ourselves, but we need to make sure that we are thoroughly going through and seeing how we are protecting ourselves to protect our neighborhoods and our character.
And so PDC put this original version together, and I think it would make sense if we're going to talk to them about creating a by right process to sort of slip in here aside everything else, is to go through and number one, rework the allowable uses to be compliant, but then I think there does need to be a discussion of, are there appropriate objective regulations on some of these uses that would apply across the city that are reasonable to start thinking about and going through the council and implementing. And as you know, amending the zoning regulations takes some time because you got to go through that whole process. But July 1 is not a deadline. We can do that at any time. Now, of course, if somebody came in with an application on July 2nd, we didn't have it done, then we would have to go with what we had.
Right.
But, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I guess that's one of my questions is the league put out the informational document that was shared with everyone. And they gave cities like a whole list of things that they should be doing leading up to July 1st. I guess my question is, why haven't we discussed this until now? Why weren't we beginning to have the discussion? Because many cities began having this discussion after it was discovered that the law was passed. And so I pushed really hard to make sure we had this meeting before July 1st, in case someone did happen to come in July 1st or 2nd and said, hey, I want to apply for by right housing for land. So question to you, City Administrator Jensby, why we haven't talked about this at all?
Yeah. Dustin and I have been talking, we've been in work groups, and we've been talking about this with other cities for months. All cities in Sedgwick County get together roughly quarterly and discuss this, and most cities are kind of letting Derby and Goddard take the lead on this and kind of test the waters on some of these ordinances that they're writing. There's I wouldn't say a big push, but there's a consensus that everybody wants to wait to kind of see how things pan out and then have cities present the changes to their ordinance and zoning code that are consistent throughout the county. So all the cities are the same. So there's some, there's consistency. So one city's consistent with the others. So we've been aware of it for a long time. We've just kind of been attending the meetings, watching the processes and seeing what happens. And, there's no sense in reinventing the wheel. And we're just kind of seeing what those other cities do and how things play out. But like Andrew said, right now it's not affecting us today because we don't have any building going on.
I would also be concerned with the ones who are going right out ahead and being very aggressive about what they're doing. I don't want Kechi to be a test case for a lawsuit from the Building Association, and so I have
That
a little
is
bit
the concern. They're taking a legal risk.
Keep an eye on it. For
Absolutely.
Sure.
And to finish what I was saying is, like Andrew said, if we have something that comes up where somebody applies for this, of course, we're going to follow the new regulations. So
I guess my follow-up to that would be, I, as an elected official, would have liked to have been able to weigh in on that decision, because you and Dustin made the decision for the council by knowing this was happening and choosing not to inform us of what you knew was coming down the pike. So I would hope that in the future, when there are things that we can see, and I agree, I don't want to be the lawsuit, but I do want us to start to be able to say what are the things that we need to get ahead, especially when we've been hearing for quite some time that the zoning regulations, there are going to be amendments. Could we have incorporated some of those, knowing that that is a lengthy process, and that if those were being shared with the Planning Commission for consideration, that having that information sooner rather than later can be helpful.
Does any other council have any questions or comments that they desire on this topic? Okay, we still have several more agenda items. Council, do you need a 5-minute quick break? Are you okay? Okay, then we will just keep going, just checking in. All right, moving on to, thank you, Andrew, I appreciate all your explanation. Moving on to the developers agreement for the Foreman Edition. City Administrator Jensby.
Mayor and Council, what you have before you is a developer's agreement for the Foreman Edition, which is the home being built at the end of Foreman. The proposed development agreement establishes the conditions associated with the approved plat for the Foreman Edition and addresses future dedication and construction of Foreman Avenue. So if Foreman is ever expanded and taken south, and then what I would assume would be back west to connect with Oliver, this agreement provides the dedications for the roadway that would go through there. This was requested, if I understand it correctly, this was requested by the developer and not the city.
Council, any questions? I'm gonna ask them while they're looking. This property does not directly connect to Oliver. Are there any other adjoining properties that are considering an easement or developer's agreement to connect the road to Foreman Avenue at this time?
At this time, we don't know that.
Okay.
You need a motion.
I was just waiting to see if anybody had any questions. So yes, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve Foreman Addition Developers Agreement as presented and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Hedstrom. All in favor? Motion passes 4-0. Okay, moving on to G, minutes. Councilmember Moreland, this was your request to pull.
Yes, on the minutes of the May 14th meeting, it said under the appointment of officers that I had made a motion to remove Chief Moore from the appointment list. I made no such motion. The motion that I made was to approve the mayor's appointment list. The mayor is who removed Chief Moore from the appointment list. I did not make that motion the way it is stated.
Okay.
That is correct. I would agree that that is what happened.
We'll make note of that. We'll go back and make sure that those are clear.
Okay. Bring those back at the next meeting. That would be great. Okay, moving on to council reports, discussion, and requests. First, we're going to talk about 10A, Park Board bylaws. The city of Kechi must follow policy, procedure, city ordinance, and city code. The mayor's duty is to take care of the ordinances of the city, that the ordinances of the city are complied with. The park board has not been operating under the governing body approved bylaws, and they must align. There's a few things I'm going to highlight in the bylaws that are from 2020. The board shall consist of regular members who are residents of the city. We currently have the liaison for Play by Design is no longer on the park board and is not a resident of the city. I had no problem allowing that person to continue in that role for the June build. But according to the bylaws, and now that it's not till November, I believe that we should have a transition of the liaison so that we have a park board member as the liaison to Play by Design. Secondly, it says that down under officers and operations, that the duties of the chairperson include but are not limited to publishing a notice and agenda for each upcoming meeting and presiding over such meetings, serving as a contact person with the mayor and director of public works or his or her designee, monitoring the board's expenses, attending city council meetings, or designating an alternate board member to attend such meetings as necessary, presenting board informational items and advice to the city council as necessary, and establishing board activities relating to the parks. I have no contact with the chairperson at this point, and I don't believe, Public Works Director, do you have direct contact with the chairperson according to the bylaws?
I don't know who the chairperson is.
Okay. And then it also states that the chairperson is also responsible for monitoring the board's expenses. I have not seen an expense report that has been shared with the park board or the city council regarding the actions that they have been involved in. The park board did discuss changing some bylaws, but there was not agreement in the park board and nothing was ever brought before the council. So these are the bylaws that the park board should be under and operating. Under duties and responsibilities of the board, at the very bottom, it says the board will offer periodic advice regarding future park projects, seeking the advice and approval from the Director of Public Works or his or her designee. The board must first consult and cite the Kechi Master Park Plan and Kechi Annual Budget in its recommendations. The Kechi Master Park Plan will guide the park board. Unfortunately, that is not the process that they've gone through. Yes, we're moving on towards getting the playground replaced, but it is a concern that the bylaws have not been followed by the park board. I've also included in the packet that I gave you the 2 ordinances that have been approved by the governing body. The first one was ordinance number 1758-20, which was from 2020, and that was regarding membership term and compensation. And the second one is ordinance number 1846-25, which changed the time, and I think it was the time and date of the meeting for their regular meetings. Those are the only 2 ordinances, as well as the bylaws that have been approved by the governing body. And I've also given you Article 2 Park Board from the City Code. And on the back, 12-207, Conduct of Business, it says the Park Board shall operate and conduct its business under bylaws or a similar framework approved by the governing body, and which may from time to time be amended by the governing body, and shall have such duties and authority as may be granted by the governing body. So the reason I brought this up for discussion is I am asking the council to give instruction to the city administrator to communicate to the park board that these bylaws and the ordinances must be followed in operation as an advisory board. Council, are you willing to do so?
Is there a reason we haven't been operating under these bylaws?
Mayor and Council, the park board, as you know, has spoke or has gone through revisions to their bylaws. At the onset of the park board meeting when we reenacted it, they started through that process. Mayor, you were there as a citizen, provided a lot of objection to the bylaws that were being presented. There's some objection from the board, and those were just kind of tabled until things calmed down a little bit. Subsequently, the park project kicked off, and we've been going through that, so the park board just needs to bring those back up and look at those. But there has been no intent by staff or any park members to go outside of those, and everything's been done good. Thank you.
So I guess one of my concerns is that previously Thomas, as the Public Works Director, had been attending those meetings. And I know that I have not attended many, but I've attended several. And in those meetings, there was questions that were directly relevant to him, and he was not there to answer them. And I will also say that in hindsight, with what's happening with the bill being pushed back, had he been able to be involved in those meetings, as the bylaws that have been approved by both the council and the park board, some of those may have been avoided. And I respect that they didn't agree on the changes to the bylaws, but that meant they weren't in effect. And so they weren't operating under that. And I'm not saying that malicious or otherwise, but I would say that is your responsibility to make sure that they are aware of what the bylaws are, or whoever, our liaison from the council, because we've had a council member on there since they were reenacted. And I did go through all the minutes, and yes, there was discussion, but I guess I still don't, understand why they are not being advised to follow the current bylaws and not the ones that they wanted to change but didn't take action to change.
All I'm asking is for compliance and that you would instruct them that they're under these bylaws and that's how they need to operate at this time.
Take that into consideration, thank you.
It's city code, it's city ordinance, and these are the bylaws that have been approved by the governing body. So I'm asking for you to comply with our city ordinance and our city code and to instruct the park board, which is an advisory board, this is what the governing body has approved, and that you would please instruct them so that they can operate properly.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, moving on to e-bikes at the park. There was a citizen who shared their concern about e-bikes and were they allowed in the park? And so I did a little research, and so I wanted to share with you what I found out. So it doesn't really clearly address it in our city code for city parks, but when I did some research, in 2026, the state of Kansas explicitly classifies compliant electric assisted bicycles, classes 1, 2, and 3, as bicycles. So their definition is that it must have 2 or 3 wheels, be fully operable, have fully operable pedals, and an electric motor of less than 750 watts. The source is from 2026 Kansas statutes, Article 15. I have also provided additional information. I included the Kansas statute, a copy of it. It does state that with this statute, home rule still exists and that individual cities are allowed to make their own rules if they would prefer. And then I also included Kansas Legislative Research Department document on this, explaining the Kansas law on bicycles, e-bikes, and e-scooter operation. And there is a few examples of home rule that was utilized in certain cities if an issue should arise. So all I wanted to do was just share information that in the state of Kansas, e-bikes are defined as a bicycle, and therefore the rules that we currently have in Kechi Park, they're compliant. I think the little mini motocross bike that might have been ridden last week, probably wasn't. And it would just be the consideration if the council would like some education to be put out to the public to be considerate of if you're riding your bike through the park, let a walker know you're passing on the left, or if that's something that the council would be interested in seeking some education to be done for the public, that e-bikes are considered bicycles in the state of Kansas. So informational for you all. Thank you. Okay. Is there any other requests, discussion, or any council reports that would like to be made this evening?
I want to follow up with our earlier conversation on the Gov Guide presentation, because I know we were given the choice of 2 dates, and I just didn't know if, since one of them is coming up rather quickly and the other one's coming up very quickly.
I don't have everybody's vote in, but it's leaning towards the June 3rd.
Can we make a decision tonight?
I need to verify that with him to make sure that date is still good with him.
So
with Ty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wasn't sure. So with that, I guess when we make that determination, we'll just need to call a special meeting.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. At the last meeting that I was at, the May 14th meeting, I did request a budget worksheet with details, and it might have actually been at the April meeting. I didn't write down my dates. Is that something that we will be able to have and prior to a meeting so that we have a chance to look it over before coming to the next workshop? And I know that I'm a little old school on wanting things on paper, That's, I take notes, I use it to help myself remember things. And every month, every meeting except for one, my packet has been single-sided, and I would really, really prefer double-sided, and I didn't know if there was a reason why we weren't doing double-sided.
I guess I don't have a good answer for you. Sometimes we don't do double-sided in the interest of time because it ties up the copier so much. I guess if that's, we will make sure you get double-sided.
I would appreciate it. I ask every time, and I know that it's, and I realize that I might be asking for something that everybody else doesn't, but I do find that it's very much better to make notes on and things like that. And my other request is I'm still waiting for business cards.
We ordered those.
Yes, with the wrong email
It
address.
had a wrong email address.
That was, so I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I know Debbie ordered those, so we'll follow up and see what they're.
All right, thank you.
Okay, anything else, council? Okay, we'll be moving on to executive session, and we have 2 executive sessions this evening for non-elected personnel.
Madam Mayor, I move we go into executive session for State Statute 7543-19B1. Subject to be discussed during the executive session is non-elected personnel. Justification for closing the meeting is discussion related to non-elected personnel matters. The time and place at which the open meeting shall resume is 10:10 in the City Council chamber.
I second.
Motion by Councilmember Hedstrom, second by Councilmember Moreland. All in favor? We are in executive session. Are we at time yet? Oh, I'm sorry. As we return to the regular meeting, I want to remind everyone that pursuant to Kansas open meeting statutes, no binding action was taken by the city council while in executive session. I would seek a motion for a second executive session.
Madam Mayor, I move we go into executive session per state statute 754319B1. The subject to be discussed during the executive session is non-elected personnel. The justification for closing the meeting is discussion related to non-elected personnel matters, and the time and place at which the open meeting shall resume is 10:21.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hedstrom, second by Councilmember Baldridge. All in favor?
Aye.
We are in executive session. return to the regular meeting, I want to remind everyone that pursuant to Kansas open meeting statutes, no binding action was taken by the city council while in executive session. Council, I would entertain a motion to recess for a workshop on July 9th at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hedstrom, second by Councilmember Baldridge. All in favor? We are in recess. Have a nice evening.